Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RGR Roundtable. I am your host, Charlie Grace Rochong, and these are our wonderful panelists. Say hi, wonderful panelists.
Hi, wonderful panelists.
Can the wonderful panelists have permission to turn on their camera? Because I don't have it.
Yeah. Oh, do you need permission to turn on your camera?
Oh, I sure do.
Yes, I do.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me
you see my pretty face.
All right, well then, in that case, let me go ahead and technical difficulty figure out how to be able to do that. Oh wait, actually, I should know how. I'm gonna go ahead, and now that I've been able to talk to you, so let's see.
Wait, hold on.
All right, now you should have permission.
I don't have it.
Yeah,
all right, I'm going one by one. 2, let's see.
Oh, I have it now.
3.
Oh, hold on.
And there we go. All right. Is everyone good?
I need permissions. Joel,
What a cool app that just crashes when you turn on your camera. Are you guys seeing this bullshit?
Yes.
Why is it doing that?
Are we live yet?
Sorry, so I'm trying to pull in one.
Unprofessional.
Yes, we are currently.
This is completely unprofessional.
There we go. That I believe is the last person. So I'll go ahead and I'll do an opening really quick, or not like an opening, just like my spiel, and then we'll get right into it. So, for our panelists and people who are watching, we are live. This is the heavily inspired by Dylan Burns' Hippy Dippy.
Sorry, guys. I'm having another boomer moment.
People, so you can't blame me if the conversation is boring. There's going to be at least some interesting disagreement among a lot of you. But get involved, it's either stimulate conversation or to get things back on track. 2, be respectful of me. You can hate on each other, you can call names, do whatever, but I'm putting in a lot of work to make this happen, so don't make my life any harder than necessary. And 3, stay on topic. Related tangents are fine, but don't dig up like personal, unrelated drama. And with that, let's go ahead and have our panelists briefly introduce themselves. And I have an order here. Z, thank you so much for joining us. Would you mind introducing yourself to the people who are watching?
All right.
Yeah, my name's Z.
Good to go. Let's do it.
And I'm the founder of the Unfuck America Tour / National Ground Game that's taking on Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA.
Wonderful. Oh, and I'm also so sorry for the people who are watching. I might have muted myself on myself. Y'all can hear me fine, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Wonderful. Sorry for the people at home. Thank you for the people who are messaging me about it. Okay. Next, Destiny. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Destiny. I stream politics and video games and random stuff sometimes. And I do, center, left, whatever. Yeah.
Awesome. Next, the Soy Pill.
Yeah, I'm the Soy Pill. I make video essays and I stream politics sometimes.
Cool. Next, Anne, or Leftist Blondie.
Yeah, I'm Anne. I go by Leftist Blondie online. I am working with the Unfuck America Tour at the moment. That's my current project. I work with Planned Parenthood Generation Action as well at a university in Northern Florida.
Awesome. Next, we got Jola, Politics.
Howdy, I'm having technical difficulties. I'm Jola Politics. I'm on YouTube. I do a YouTube Shorts call-in show with a real phone number. So I get the wildest callers you could possibly imagine. Thank you for having me. I'll be right back when I fix my camera. Thank you.
Mine wasn't working too. I unplugged and plugged it back in. I know that's very condescending advice, but it worked.
Cool. Hope you can figure that out, but thank you so much for being here. Next, we got Wick.
Yeah, Wick from Wick TV.
Cool. Vincent.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Destiny and DGG. Hello, Anne. Hello, Counterpoints. I'm Vincent. My handle everywhere is Real Visigoth. It's RealVisigoth. It's everywhere. It's YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. So I usually do pro-Ukraine content with occasional politics. So yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Next, we got, Connor, you were able to join. Connor, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name's Connor. I'm a science fiction political philosophy nerd, Marine Corps law enforcement veteran, never Trump Republican, and somebody who's trying to help the Democrats be less stupid with mixed results.
I love how efficient you are with your introduction. Thank you so much. Next, we got Corbin.
Hey, yeah, I'm Corbin Sales. I do YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You can find me all there. I do like center left content, videos, TikTok debates. Yeah, that about covers my shit.
Cool. Then we got North.
Hey, I'm North. I'm a Never Trump Republican, center right. So if you're to the left of me, you have a reason to hate me, and if you're to the right of me, you have a reason to hate me. You can find me on X at That Guy's North, and you can find me on YouTube at North Is Live.
Cool. Then we got, and I don't know how to pronounce this. She's right. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm online at She's Right Show, center left. I hate internet cancer. You can also stop real cancer by donating to St. Jude's.
Cool. Then we got Madden. Oh, Madden is not here. Sorry, missing one person. And then no echo chambers.
Hey, what's up? I'm Get Money Dre. I host No Echo Chambers Pod. I'm a center left content creator on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And my show basically talks to all different kinds of people to understand their point of view. I am a big fan of human rights, so if you support human rights, then you should watch my show. And if you don't, then you can fuck off.
Great. Thank you all so much for being here. And with that, we're going to get right into it. So basically, I'm not going to read the whole spiel that I posted online. We're here to talk about the Taylor Lorenz article and the recent dark money discourse. And so really the main questions are, what do we make of everything that's been happening? Is there any merit to Taylor's claims? Is it possible that she was acting with malice or at least negligently? And what do we think of efforts like what Chorus is undertaking, such as funding smaller creators and helping them grow their platform? How we're going to do this is I'm going to go around and ask people in the same order, one by one, to give an opening statement. There's a lot of us, so we're not going to be able to probably get to everybody. So once someone finishes their opening, I'll ask anyone if they want to respond to anything that the person who just spoke said. And if they do, we'll let conversation roll from there. So with that, Z, I think that you have a really interesting perspective on this. So would you be interested in giving kind of your thoughts on the matter?
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot. Okay.
If you don't want to, that's totally fine.
Oh, well, I'm just like curious. How many people are like? Is everybody in the center left position here? Or
I try
just to make it more interesting.
I want to talk to you specifically, FD. So, as far as I can tell, this was not at all, they were paid to do the Israel thing, which is why it's really frustrating. So that seems to be total speculation. Now, if that is true, I think it needs to come out, but I haven't seen proof of that.
Center left, but I'm not like a leftist or a communist or any of that
We wouldn't
shit.
get any like fascists or tankies in
Yeah,
here.
we needed some tankies in here to spice it up.
I can be your fascist for the evening. I got you perfectly covered. I can steelman the opposite argument if you want.
So let me say, all right, I will put out there, I tried hard to get like the farther left people. I went on TikTok and I was able to get a couple of them the other day. I did try to, all right. So this is my best efforts, all right.
Yeah, I reached out to like
to fight because I'll give you something to fight.
I reached out to like 3 or 4 people too. No progressive far left person wanted to join. It was really fucking irritating.
I'll give you guys the thing to fight. Okay, even if we end up agreeing. May I?
Go for it.
So Wick and I were involved in the PV drama last year, 2 years ago, effectively where we were accused of the same thing, of being involved with dark money, and it was opaque and nobody knew who the funders were and all that kind of crap. We were stuck into the same thing, okay? Now, what I think was Beckett of Crab's criticism, which I think is the strongest criticism available, is that this should be made as transparent as possible. And effectively, everybody should be broadcasting whether or not they're getting paid, because, of course, that's going to, you should be honest with your biases and transparent with your biases. And I think that, like, one video, one advertisement, one website that nobody has heard of, that's insufficient for the audience to not feel like they're getting tricked. And so, as a result, I think that it's incumbent upon creators to transparently communicate who they're working with and why, who's paying them and why, and what their deliverables are. Otherwise, we're going to have this discourse another dozen times over the next 2 years.
I can
go for it.
I was going to say I can agree with that, Connor, but I think when it pertains to specifically the chorus drama, it seems like everything was pretty open and relatively transparent about like who was receiving money. Like I don't think they denied not receiving money from the 1360 fund.
1630.
1630. Or 16, yeah, whatever.
But the
Was anybody here in the chorus group or no?
I'm not.
No.
No.
Unfortunately,
yet.
We should have got like
They wouldn't
an
want me.
inside.
Fuck
Not yet.
disclosures.
Jump on
Fuck
it.
disclosures. If somebody wants disclosures to happen, then somebody needs to change the laws around either mainstream media, alternative media, or all media that covers politics in the U.S., where everybody's forced to disclose. I don't think that it's fair or reasonable to demand some fucking, no offense, but some content creator getting paid like $800 a month net, like from all of his earnings, to have to disclose that he's like a bought and paid for dark money shill. Wow, people like Taylor Lorenz or the Majority Report or other people can run around raising however much money from the background, not having to disclose any of their income sources, not revealing any, but like that's bullshit. It's either all or nothing. So when all of these other content creators are publicly making like disclosures, not that I have to go dig for, because remember we said it's not enough for them to say one thing at one point. Until that's happening, then fuck that. The standards need to be the same, or or not at all.
Can we
Nobody cares
look?
about,
I just
like,
want to say
Charlie
just
Kirk
real
doing
quick.
this.
The
No way.
fact. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right,
The
Wick,
fact that-
then Anne.
Sure. We should not be treating these as honest criticisms. Let's be clear. The people who are attacking Chorus, 90% of them are not honest in their criticisms. They're demanding a transparency that works
People like
one
Hassan.
way. So I just, to look at this and try to kind of try to tackle it as if they're being good faith, I think is a mistake. We just need to realize that these people, Taylor Lorenz, the Vanguard, all these fucks, they are active enemies to liberalism in the Democratic Party, and we should treat them as such.
How do you contend with the fact that 10%? We just had this debate maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago with Sock Done Left, right? Not Sock Done Left. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's Sucked on Left. That's his name.
I'm
right?
being
Yeah.
racist against socialists. Econoboy. So
Oh,
we just
okay.
had this conversation with Econoboy a little bit ago, okay? And his point though is that 10% of the Democratic Party identifies as quote unquote very liberal, which I'm assuming means progressive because nobody knows what words means anymore. And then 10% of the party, additional 10% of the party identifies as socialists. Now, let's be real. They also don't know what socialism means. They probably just means it's Scandinavians. But at the same time, like if we have 12, liberals and progressives in a single chat who are all saying like, fuck 20% of the party, we don't need them to win, I think you're kind of delusional. This is where I told Steven, like, I think we need a center left, center right coalition. And he's like, nah, fuck it. The liberals have it. And I was like, I think that's hubris.
We just need a coalition big enough to defeat Trump and shit. Like, we don't need we could if we get the far left in our coalition, great. If we get the center right, great. We just need to win.
But you need to market to those people. And by the way, you have ineffective marketing because I'm saying shut up about guns. And yet Adam Kinzinger, the Republican who was a Never Trump Republican, probably the best example of a Never Trump Republican, after the most recent mass shooting, he was talking about gun control. So the marketing sucks, probably because he's going to be a Democrat in the next year.
Can I jump in about this? Like
in America, we need to be able to market to them. You're not going to win elections saying no guns. You just won't.
I need to talk about this disclosure thing that Destiny mentioned because I didn't think I'd be arguing on this side of things. I'm very much anti this article and have a bunch of evidence, and that's why I came prepared to talk about. But the idea that disclosure matters and like it's this zero-sum game, like we all have to do it or none of us have to do it. The reason that people are upset about this, and I think this is okay to be upset about, regardless of why this upsetness might come from misleading or kind of not so true claims, is that I'm echoing on your side, Anne. Can you please mute? Thank you. Is that basically there's this aura of authenticity that comes from some of these creators, and if it comes out that you were not disclosing that you were paid by people, even though that probably, in my opinion, doesn't change your opinions, it does hurt your credibility with your audience. As far as I know, Majority Report completely discloses all of their funding as advertisers because they read them on the show. I don't know if they get backdoor funding, maybe they do, but I think people are just kind of scrambling to say, hey, if you get funding, please just let me know. Now, I don't think that's the goal of this article. I think this article goes way further and makes a bunch of dishonest claims that are like, hey, people were being paid to toe the party line, people were changing their opinions. The 1630 Project itself is a dark money fund insofar as a lot of their donors don't disclose, a lot of them do, including one of the donors who gave money to Taylor Lorenz's reporter cohort, and they also make it part of their mission to make it illegal to not disclose your donations. So it's kind of funny that at all this is a controversy, especially because I learned that from the article link. But insofar as people want people to disclose, I think that's a very valid concern to have.
I think the problem with demanding disclosure is, one, I'm sure we'll get into this later, I don't even believe that dark money is a real term. I think that it's like a fictitious term that people throw around because it sounds spooky. But two, like earlier, I think Connor was the one who brought up the idea that like the disclosure can't just be one time because people are going to say, oh, well, we didn't see that. You can go to the Majority Report sponsor page and see sponsors, but like, I mean, I don't know how much each of these people give, right? Like, let's say hypothetically on the sponsor page for the Majority Report, what if all of these sponsors gave $100 a month, but like Liquid IV gives $10,000 a month, and let's say that the Majority Report ends up taking a strange, like vaccine position. And if I would have found out that Liquid IV, which I'm guessing is like some supplement vitamin thing, was donating so much, well, maybe that would change the way how I feel about their coverage, and it might, and it would for some people.
Yeah.
So like this,
No, this is fair. Let me head you off because I want to be clear. I agree. I agree with this completely. Because a lot of the criticism, especially that I've been getting DMs, is oh, they didn't disclose it enough, or oh, they disclosed it on this stream but not as a video. And the idea that we should be saying the exact denominations of every amount from every single person, I think is really ridiculous. I think it's totally fine to just say, hey, I'm working with these people. Sometimes they help me out. That's all that needs to happen. The drummed up controversy stuff is overblown for sure, but I don't think that it is a wrong concern to say people should disclose that I'm working with this group and maybe they pay me. But the amount of transparency people are demanding is a little ridiculous.
We're talking about like a 6-month cohort, right? And I want to ask Z to explain what a 501c4 is, but in a 6-month cohort, that's not any way tied to someone's profession or like a long-term financial ties to help young creators get off the ground. And we keep on missing that point, the 501c4 designation. And it's actually crazy right now too, because the Trump IRS is going to be going after 501c3s and c4s that do work they don't like. So this is also putting them in the sights of the Trump admin, I'm sure. But can you explain, Z, a little bit about like how the C4 functions? Because I don't think people know.
Yeah, so I mean, the C4 basically can like legally engage directly with the campaign, whereas C3 cannot. So that's why a lot of people choose to do C4s, which makes sense. So this whole idea of just like, oh, we'll just get rid of them. Well, then you can't do like direct campaign work. So that's just that's an issue.
Wait. C4s?
C4s, yeah.
I thought the point
They can engage in.
I thought the point of the C4s is the C4s have to be set up as like social welfare nonprofits, basically. So the advantage is that they can raise basically an infinite amount of money. A C4 and a C3 doesn't have to do FEC filings, and the C4s, the people that donate to them, if they get money from like a corporation, like a shell corporation, obviously those people don't have to do disclosures or whatever. But I thought the C4s were still. Are they allowed to do direct work by the campaigns? Is that only prohibited by the 527s or?
So C4s can, but and obviously people would have different reasons for setting them up, right? So like that's obviously going to be like a big reason why they might choose that. But as far as I'm aware, C4s can engage in political campaigns directly, whereby C3s cannot.
Gotcha. Okay, for the C4, is it they have the majority of their funding has to go to some social welfare thing, and then some other percentage can go directly for campaigns? Is that how I don't know what counts as a social welfare thing?
It's not necessarily about that. It's just about like whether they can engage directly with the campaign or not. So how they split up the funding doesn't matter, but like a C3, you can't, for example, call a campaign manager on a campaign and say like, hey, we're going to go do this field program. Like you can't do that. But a C4, gotcha. Yeah. So a lot of people choose to set.
They can't spend on electioneering, right? So they can't like say we're working on behalf of a campaign. So like if they do 60% work for the public good and then 40% work politically, they can put an ad out that says like, oh, I'm anti Elon Musk and his Doge department ripping apart the federal government. But they can't say I'm doing this on behalf of the Cory Booker campaign, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, basically. So like they can, for example, like if you had like a slate of candidates that you endorsed, right? And it was based on environmental justice, like all these candidates believe in some form of environmental justice, you're an environmental justice organization, you can still campaign on that behalf, right? Like you're allowed to do that, but you cannot directly coordinate with the campaigns.
501c4s have more political leeway because they're supposed to be primarily social welfare organizations, but they've argued that as long as their primary purpose is still social welfare, they can be engaged politically to the ends of furthering that social welfare cause.
Do we think that's bad?
No.
Does anyone think that's bad?
I got a spicy opinion. Maybe this will change things up. All right.
Well, I mean, I think there are things that can be bad about that, right? I feel like the issue is people get like really hung up on the dark money or the sourcing, but I feel like the issue is the fact that the C4 can raise an infinite amount of money, right? There's not like a contribution limit. And I think that's the issue that people have, right? So if I wanted to support, there's like a pro-vaccine candidate and an anti-vaxxer candidate. I'm FEC campaign contribution limited on donating to them, or like a 527 PAC. But if there was a C4, 501c4 company that was like, oh, we hate vaccines, I could raise $100 trillion with that and just spend on anti-vaccine messaging that's ostensibly or basically supporting one candidate. So I think that's like the weird thing about it, right? Is that you can raise basically an infinite amount of money for it.
But what is entirely negative about that? If a group of people want to get together and raise funds and pool their resources in order to advocate for a cause, why should there be a cap on that? If we have 100 million people in the United States that each want to give $1 to vaccine awareness or something, right? And a cause that they believe in, why should the government or the federal government step in and say, no, I don't think you can do that in this case?
I have a very good pushback against this, but I need to ask before I start going on the other side of this argument, is anyone here pro the article, or are we all on the same page?
Nah, fuck that.
I think we're all on this.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
I have a
We're just getting
question.
into like.
I have a question for the panel.
Let me, North and then Anne, because I know Anne, you've also been trying to speak a couple times. So North, go ahead.
Okay, so Chorus was like founded to fund specific types of content creators, like those that are more pro-democratic values. If a content creator stopped promoting those values, should it be okay for Chorus to essentially stop funding them or like threaten to stop funding them?
I mean, yeah.
Why not?
Anyone disagree with that?
Because they're paying you the money to do a job, and if you don't do the job, if you quit the job, then why would they continue to pay you?
Well, Course is going. Well, the content creators, of course, are going out of their way to basically say Course is not funding us to push the party line or anything like that. So
yeah, they're actually not paying you to do a job. They're paying you because they're trying to prop up and spread progressive voices. But they're saying if you use this money to, denounce the people giving you money, you can talk about us, but if you're going to like completely subvert our entire political campaign, then we're going to stop funding you, which makes perfect sense.
Yes, I mean, that's you pay them to continue to post progressive.
Sorry, go ahead.
So like, technically, if you stop like being for them, they're not going to continue to fund you, and since they pay you the money, they have every right to take it away.
I feel like we've stumbled into the awkward conundrum that is like the 501c4 issue, right? Like what even counts as that? Like, because they're not paying you to make political content. I'm sure they explicitly say that in the contract. They have to because there would be like campaign contribution issues here. But they kind of are, right? Like, if a boss fires somebody because the person is racist or sexist, oftentimes those firings aren't going to be the boss saying, I'm firing you because I'm racist. I'm firing you because I'm sexist, So it's like the way that these are all structured are kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but it's just like the legal tax / FEC system.
A lot of the people.
That's the strongest argument, though, right there.
Yeah.
So as an example, I think that somebody found a course creator who specifically was anti-Israel and made anti-Israel content and didn't get fired. But the indictment was, of course, that like, hey, there could be this soft pressure where you might notice that somebody says, oh, our values are no longer aligned. You're dismissed from this program. And then that becomes a soft pressure in order to quote unquote toe the party line. And that, that's obviously the difficulty with this creator incubator programs is you don't know who's going to be, you don't know who's going to be successful and who's going to be a dirtbag when you start. But that's where you have that awkward pressure of I want to do enough to earn my money, but I don't want to step out of line and then lose my contract, especially with smaller creators, right? Because bigger creators can basically do whatever the fuck they want because they have enough money to be independent. But with smaller creators who are coming up, they're going to be more likely to be sympathetic to their donors' desires. That's the criticism right there.
It's not just small creators, though. They're also trying to build people from the ground up, right? Like these people might not even have a previous audience to like fall back on, like where they started.
The honest worry with this, just real quick, the honest criticism is that people worry that if you are getting paid by these groups, that you are incentivized not to change your position, even though you might change your position naturally, and that it will stick you in. You say, I can't say anything negative about who I think that Chorus would be mad at me for saying something negative about, so I'm just going to shut up. And I think that that's the most like honest criticism that I've heard of this. But anyway, I'm
briefly cutting in. Anne, Anne, did you want to say anything? I I thought you were trying to jump in a couple of times. I just want to make sure you get an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, I don't even know why conservatives are mad about this, or anyone really who's like libertarian or non-left leaning. Aren't they all for deregulation? Like, if you just want to work somewhere else, like, aren't you just responsible for going and finding another employer? I don't understand this. And the problem with funding things like C4s is that those things have a heavy impact on elections. So it wouldn't be a problem if they're not endorsing or saying they're against some political candidate. I don't know why it just can't be regulated for a C4 and not regulated for others. I don't understand that. Just go find another employer.
So I'm interested in, sorry, Connor, and we might be of the same mind. I'm interested in having you all explore this a little bit more. What Connor and what Wick and y'all were talking about with the kind of, it's like an audience capture sort of issue, right?
Yeah, this is Connor is in a really unique spot here because you just because you're doing other stuff right now. I feel like there is there's this interesting, a lot of things are repeated when it comes to dark money or when it comes to corporate capture or whatever that are like truisms. But I think that if you ask content creators, you can actually get surprisingly like opposite answers of what people assume to be true. So for instance, there's this idea that if you get paid money from some individual or from some sponsor or whatever, that you're all of a sudden beholden to that person. But I know personally, and I'm not necessarily referring to Connor here, you can speak or anybody else can. Personally, like sometimes when people get huge, amounts of money from a sponsor or from some particular person, that actually gives them more freedom to work on a project. Because sometimes you can get hardcore audience captured from like, God, I have to talk about, Hassan again. I have to talk about Gaza. I have to talk about this DNC thing. But like having some sponsors like, oh my God, as long as I hit these activations, like I'm actually free to talk about so many different things. Now, that's not to say that like a sponsor could never pressure you to talk about something or to keep something open. But I don't like the assumption that absent some individual sponsors' pressure, there's no soft pressure, especially today on the internet with cancel culture and, people pressuring people to talk about everything else. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of different pressure that exists and people need to be a little more honest about, not that you guys are lying, about like what kinds of pressures exist and that just because there's not a corporate sponsor doesn't mean there's not a fuck ton of soft and sometimes even hard pressure to work on certain issues.
Piggyback off that.
Yeah, I think
Think for 1 second just about the 501c4 status, though. So if they had a point where they were telling people what to do and how to do it, they would lose their 501c4 status. If that was ever proven that someone got kicked off for not covering a certain topic, or if there's even an idea that was happening, the C4 status kind of protects that from happening, and that's why they have to do more service and do trainings and do it training based and pay people based off doing trainings versus doing like actual pieces for the media.
Well, I'll say,
and then there's this.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, you're saying for regulating a content creator in that way, you're saying that they would lose a C4 status?
100%, because that was tipping. It would be majority political. It would no longer be a public service thing. So that tax exemption status would probably go away. Then they'd probably lose it.
What is majority political?
So like if they were telling someone, that's why when Chorus says you can, if you're speaking on behalf of Chorus or doing something with our materials, then we need to sign off on it because they can't be represented in a fashion where it's like we are purposely pushing the Democratic Party in this way to support Gaza, or this person was working for us and we promised them a training on how to become a creator from the bottom. And we're going to teach them thumbnails and all this kind of stuff. But we found out their position changed on something, so we kicked them out. The whole point of the 501c4 is the majority is the training portion. It's not going to be majority political. If it was majority political, it would need to be a PAC at that point.
Yeah.
There's another thing that can be talked about. This is the dark woke argument. The Heritage Foundation, Turning Point USA, these are MAGA right-wing organizations that basically do what Chorus does, but even worse. I mean, there's a Washington Post article talking about how Turning Point USA was literally directly paying people to promote certain content. Should the Democrats be doing this as a response to the right and as a response to MAGA, or do you take the moral high ground?
I don't know if it's not if it's
you absolutely should be
not
paying people.
immoral. It's not immoral, right? I don't think it's immoral to take money, to have someone give you money so you can keep doing what you're already doing. My issues might come, like there might be some issue if people can point out to me where Chorus or any other group is paying people and they're saying, hey, change your content and get your money, right? So change your content. If you can point to me a change in content, if you can point to me where they're getting foreign funding that they're not reporting, so like from Russia or China, I might have an issue there. Or if you can point to me where they are saying specifically, hey, do not disclose that you work with us. In those three cases, we might have a problem. But in in these cases, none of this is happening, or at least I've not seen any evidence that it
Well,
is.
Wick, just to be clear, like to steelman the argument against this, it's not.
Please.
Well, to be fair, there are people that are accusing Chorus of telling them what to do. I don't think I've seen any evidence of that. But what will happen is, and like for example, I'm taking part in this thing called like the DNC, creator room, and every day they have like, hey, this is what's happened to the news. We just wanted to let you know. They're not telling anyone to make money. They're not paying us anything, but they are giving us resources and trying to keep us informed. And if people use that as their primary source of what they're reporting on, they're going to get exactly what the DNC is giving them. Now, if that's bad, if that's good, that's a whole different story. But people might be worried about, hey, you are getting all of your information from a top-down source that is catering to you these specific ideas. And that could be a bad thing. I don't think that's what's happening with Chorus. And if you look at the Chorus training thing, it's, hey, yeah, maybe we'll have some daily meetings and updates. We'll give you, tips on how to expand your reach, but they're not specifically saying you need to make content on this. And people need to be responsible and have different sources on news and make sure they're not catering to the people that are funding them. But you got to understand, I have to push back on what Destiny said. If you are someone who are these people that are getting funded by Chorus who said, I quit my full-time job to do this, which by the way is something I did recently, that is a big step. And if you know that were I to at all cross these people, I would lose my ability to do what I'm doing full-time, have to go back into the job market, and potentially might be unemployed to a point of, I don't know, like severe financial ruin, you're going to feel pressure regardless if this is your primary source of income.
Sure. How is that pressure or incentive any different when it comes from Chorus or a group like that than when it comes from your audience?
That is true. No, and I agree with Destiny's point on that, yeah, if you have an audience that's like, let's say you're in the far left space and you just happen to push back on a very specific anti-Israel narrative, you might feel less inclined to do something like that. And I'm not trying to diminish that is another pressure, but I am saying that if you're receiving monthly stipends, that is your full-time payment that you otherwise would not be able to make this content, you're going to feel a little pressure regardless of how much that is implicated or like, darkly, scandally, like these people are like pushing it on you. It's just inherently going to be that way because it's your only source of income.
Soy Pill, do you know how long the cohorts are for?
Oh, all right, hold on.
I think
We'll
there's
go
6
Ann
months,
first,
right?
and the rest of you.
If it's 6 months, that's not even a worry then.
Yeah,
I mean, how would this-
to be
it's a
clear,
training program, right?
to be
It's a
clear,
training
I am
program, so I think they're
fully
trying to-
pro Chorus. I applied last week. I'm just trying to like give the idea of like why people might be worried about this. Although again, the article I think is going way further than any of these arguments that I've laid out. It's saying a lot of much more awful things. And I thought I was going to be debating against that, so I've got all the notes on that specifically.
Bring it back to a point with the.
Hold on, wait, sorry. Before you go, Ann, you're saying something just so we don't lose the point. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I don't know if I'm getting drowned out. I have a shitty mic, but how would this be any different from a different job? Like if I go to work for some company and I don't know, I'm producing something for them, and then they say, hey, by the way, if you like go around doing shit that we don't like publicly, we're gonna fire you. You would lose your job at that point, just like you would lose your job with this. I don't.
Because this job is sharing your opinion, and especially with the alternative media, I'm not saying this is a fair expectation. I'm just saying it's an expectation. When you're an MSNBC pundit or a Fox News pundit or whatever, it's expected that you're going to follow your institution's bias. Whereas you're saying like, hey, I'm Connor, I'm this guy, this is my ideology, burp, burp, burp. Then what they're expecting is that you're some level of authentic, and so that's kind of where like the credibility comes in.
You don't think that
I don't
conservatives?
Wait, Sorry, go ahead.
Just to address that, you don't think the conservatives think that people on Fox News are actually holding those opinions?
You know what? I think conservatives are so stupid they might actually genuinely believe that that's their earnestly held opinions. However, I think they're stupid for believing that.
Well, it might depend on
I
how.
mean, just ask any conservative in my life. Like, I can literally call someone up right now and be like, "Do you think that like the people on Fox News believe what they're saying?" And they'll probably say yes. And I guarantee you, a lot of them actually do.
Does it matter if they believe or not?
Well, it might depend on how
their audience.
It might depend on how explicitly you hang like your sponsors and your audience's face, right? Or your funders in your audience's face, right?
Yeah, and the point is, if you're saying I'm authentic and I tell it like it is, like Connor was saying, but your authenticity only goes so far as you're willing to agree with the people paying you, then you're not authentic and you're diluting your audience, which again, I don't think was happening here. But
we see that with political tribalism, though.
How is this any different than if like I don't know what kind of words I can say. If somebody doing like OF acts as if they're like, in love with some customer or something, like that's not authentic. But they're
I would say it's not different, but that's immoral. Yeah,
does not give a shit
that would
about
still
your
be
life.
immoral, though, right? Like even if it's not illegal, it's immoral.
Okay, whatever. We'll pull the sex work out of it because I know everybody gets triggered over that. But like, just take your waiter at a restaurant, like Cracker Barrel. They don't give a shit about your life. They don't care about your dog. They don't care about your baby sitting in the chair. Like, they don't care about any of that. But they're pretending to be authentic. and no one cares about
You've
that.
never
Nope.
loved you.
Bullshit.
No,
I
people
was
do
an
care about
excellent
that. That's the
server, and I
point.
did
Look,
care
the
about my
stripper said she loved
clients'
me.
dogs.
Okay.
I would disagree with that. I would not. I didn't give a shit about my clients at all when I was surfing. I was being nice to them
Exactly.
as part of the job.
Damn, you
but
guys are shitty servers. I was like,
it was a
please pull up
job. I
pictures of your
can't care
dogs.
about
I want to
5
take a look at
people
your
in a
shitty
day.
dog.
It
What?
depends
I
on the
try to be
audience
nice and whatever, but
experience or space.
I'm an authentic person, but I try my best to be nice to people because people need to be nice to each other.
Okay, so
Right?
so
Yeah,
hold on.
and that-
I don't.
Uh,
If we're not
influencers?
I agree with you that in spirit that it's not different than any legacy media creator having a bias towards their institution, and that the audience needs to grow up. However, I think that, like, similar to your question where somebody was like, oh, do you believe that the people who watch Fox News think that those are earnestly held opinions? How do you communicate that to the audience? Because if we look at the Twitter mentions right now, I know Twitter isn't a perfect barometer, but on Twitter right now, there's thousands, if not tens of thousands of people who are upset because they think that their favorite liberal or progressive creator is not approaching them from an
No.
authentic direction.
that
Now,
is
they're
not an
stupid,
authentic
but how do you
upsetness.
communicate that?
That is not an
that's a
authentic.
different.
We got. It's
that's a
not
different-
real. They do not.
The audience might
wait,
be
wait, wait.
real.
I think-
Taylor Lorenz might not be real, but the audience that's upset
I don't
might
think
be
they
real.
are. Because
I
when
think
you,
some people.
That's a
I think
big
some
bet.
people- I think some people can be upset. Okay, wait. She's right. Was trying to talk like 12 times.
Yeah, go ahead, Shisha.
Thanks. Yeah, different people go into different experiences with different expectations. Anyone who's branded as an influencer, those audiences are expecting authenticity. To your waiter, you expect them to be nice, but you don't actually expect them to be authentic, and that's why you're not upset when they're not. With news,
I
it's
don't
not
think that's true at
authenticity,
all.
it's truthfulness and reliability.
I don't think that's
I think
true
there's
at all.
something.
No,
I think there's an extra thing at play here. So when we bring up the Fox News example, it's not hitting on the same thing. Like if it came out for the Fox News guys that every single Fox News host was also sponsored by some conservative, like, I mean, we could pretend to care with some conservative company, but I think nobody would care. But like, let's say tomorrow it came out that every single like centrist podcast that all happen to bend towards Trump, what if it came out tomorrow that all of them were also sponsored by like the Koch brothers? We're paying like 50% of their salaries. I think everybody would like look at it meaningfully differently, because the assumption would be, well, hold on, wait, I thought you guys didn't have a certain political influence or partisanship, but all of you guys are getting paid money from like the same place. I think you'd look at it a bit differently. I think this issue isn't mapping onto those examples well, because everybody with Chorus, I'm assuming from what I know, are all like liberal left-leaning creators. So it doesn't seem likely that they would be getting paid to change their opinion anyway. They're probably just finding people already who happen to agree with those opinions.
Yeah,
Aren't
that's a good
they
point.
trying to maintain a facade of nonpartisanship though? Like that's like on their website, if I'm remembering.
If you
correctly.
call yourself a
Chorus?
liberal, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
on their
openly call
website, I'm
yourself a
pretty sure.
progressive or liberal. Like, I don't know if you would call yourself like
All it
nonpartisan
says is
necessarily.
we have these. It says we have these values. Okay, we have these values. If you have shared values, we want to give you the tools to start a media operation for yourself to be self-sustaining. Okay, if you share these values, it says nothing about parties or supporting parties. And when Brian Tyler Cohen goes on and he says we can't coordinate with a party or toe the party line, it's because they literally cannot do it legally. Their lawyers will tell them they can't do that as a 501c4. And all these lefties on Twitter don't give a shit at all about the classification, which is why this conversation, even having it, is a loss, because they're not saying real rational points to respond to. I think someone else brought that up earlier.
yeah,
Then I
the
don't
reason I
necessarily
have
want
such
to
a hold on. The reason I have such like strong opinions on this is because this isn't my first rodeo with these kinds of accusations, right? And Connor can back me up here. And when we were in Progressive Victory, I on every single stream I did had like paid for by Progressive Victory, like contracted with Progressive Victory, right? I was as forthcoming with it and disclosing it as I possibly could be, and it was never enough. It's not enough.
Let's get Beckett on here. Let's see if he
be
agrees with
enough.
your characterization.
I'm of course, because he's going to dishonestly, in my opinion, paint this as something shadowy because they are using it as a weapon. It's Taylor Lorenz and her cohort are using it as a weapon against liberals because they hate liberals for a variety of reasons. These are not honest actors. Let's stop treating them as they are, please.
Then fine, let me shift the conversation to the dynamic that you guys are talking about, because it sounds like we have enough overlap that we're ultimately fighting about window dressing, okay? So you're saying, and Steve and I talked about this a couple of days ago, that this is not an Democrats in successful Democratic creators or liberal creators to groom in a positive way other up and coming liberal creators in order to become successful is not a controversy. It's actually stupid that this is a controversy. It's not good faith. Okay. Let's say that we all agree with that, relatively speaking.
Hell yeah.
Okay. But now what Steven is saying and some other people are saying is we don't need these people fuck these people. But the argument from the far left and the progressives is that they are between 10 and 20% of the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party lost the last election by tens of thousands of votes.
I
So
don't believe their numbers. Okay, so that's one. And two, I would posit that by getting rid of them, the albatross around our neck, it will allow people who are scared of those people on the center and the center right to once again join the fold that had previously left. We would gain more than we lose.
Okay, okay.
How did this become a? Do we excise the left debate again?
Instance,
God damn it! I don't want to have another
I'm
one
a
of
former
these.
law enforcement officer. I should be the first person who hates, police reform or whatever. But I don't, because there's plenty of stupid shit that cops do all the fucking time that should probably be legislated against. And so as a result, the progressives, the BLM movement, totally fucking stupid. Defund the police, totally stupid. But is there something productive there where they're pointing to a real problem that should be addressed by Democratic legislatures? Because let's face it, the Republicans aren't going to do shit about it.
Okay,
So there should be a good thing there.
What issue are they pointing to that needs to be addressed that you find valid?
I mean, I would obviously say universal body cammers, like federally mandated.
No. I'm not
where
talking
if you
about. I'm not talking
receive
about
a
that.
cent-
I'm not talking about police reform. I'm talking about funding in the leftists' criticisms of liberals. What are they pointing to that's honest that you think that they need to change?
Oh, I can speak on this because you talked about this earlier. But go ahead, Connor. Sorry.
Yeah. Just I'll address it. I'll try to be brief. For this specific drama, I do not think that there is anything that I would concede to these what we think are bad faith critics. However, their bases still care about progressive and further left economic and social issues that you do need to address if you want to attract the voters away from these shitty pundits.
Okay, I want to specifically address you, Wick, though.
Sorry, wait, Phil, 1 second. She's right. I know that because you haven't had a lot of opportunity to speak. I know that you wanted to say something.
I lost my thought. I'll catch up.
Okay. Sorry,
okay. So specifically, and I heard some people saying like, "Oh, what is dark money really an issue?" The issue with dark money is not the idea that like, "Oh, it's potentially going to shift people's opinions." Dark money is just, "Hey, we don't know where this is coming from," and that means that potentially this could be huge sums of money that are like paying people to say things that may or may not believe. That if you look in, if you read Dark Money by Jane Mayer, like you can see that there's tons of small elections across the country with millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars coming from Koch brothers, wherever, that are completely transformed because you're able to pay for all these things that do work in these small time elections, like ads, like campaigning, like all this stuff that you wouldn't otherwise see. And it's not directly like, oh, I'm paying for this ad, but the way that they're able to spread this out is shifting House seats. It is shifting certain things. Now, people like to say, oh, I gave Ted Cruz $10 million. Now he's pro-oil. That's probably not what's happening. Ted Cruz is pro-oil and he gets $10 million because he is pro-oil. So the issue, the only valid criticism I think any of this stuff is from the left is, hey, we should know who's giving these people money. And that's it. Now, the great part about that is 1630 is advocating for the overturn of Citizens United, so you can't not disclose who you are when you give this money. So even though they are a dark money fund with like $400 million, they're saying, hey, we want to get rid of this. Right now, our donors are allowed to say not who they are. We want that eventually to go away. So I'm fine with it.
First of all, I am pro Citizens United. I think that was a rightly decided case. I don't know if anyone disagrees with me here.
I would disagree.
Okay, well then good. We have some disagreement. We can go. The whole thing about Citizens United is, again, I'm going to ask this question again. Like, what is wrong, fundamentally, immoral, or what should be illegal about a group of people getting together, pooling their resources, and putting those resources to causes that they care about? Is that not free speech? And, in addition, why would they need to, why can't they do this anonymously? Say I wanted to donate to Soypill, and say Soypill had a lot of baggage that I might be embarrassed to donate to Soypill, right? They found his they found his memoirs about what he wanted to do to all the Muslims and things like that, right? I don't know, right? Some kind of scandal. But I still believed in what Soypill wanted to say, and I wanted to give him money, but I was afraid that if I was to give him money and people would find out, that people would harass me and target me and these things. So why should I not be able to anonymously give to him, right? in
So
order
to be clear, Wick,
help them
you
out.
can anonymously give to me by insofar as you just make a random YouTube account that's not linked to your name and super chat me, right? And you should, because I've super chatted you a lot and you still haven't bought YouTube Premium. So that's an issue on its own. The actual problem is that when you have this dark money stuff and you have Citizens United, the amount of money is on a scale completely unrelated to what you just said. Like if you just like, oh, I'm just one guy trying to do this, we're talking like this is amount of monies to like shift the entirety of like districts and counties that have absolutely nothing to do with the constituents in those places who might otherwise say, hey, I want to vote for this guy because he aligns with me, which is how democracy is supposed to work. And hey, I was able to spend so much money on campaign ads in like these 17 different districts in Alabama that all of these old people who just watch TV and see these campaign ads are now completely going to shift their vote because some guy in a completely different state with hundreds of billions of dollars was able to push it into that. So it's about the scale and the precedent and what that amount of money is able to do. People are upset by that. And I don't particularly like it, but I can see an argument for why it's a limitation of free speech.
Should it be unlimited spending, Wick?
From domestics, I don't see like what would you limit it as?
No, I mean, do you think like spending on these PACs and everything should be unlimited for super PACs and for 501c4s?
What would be the argument for limiting it? Like, and what would you limit it at?
So like the obvious argument is the same thing when it's like, for example, one freedom of speech question legally would be, can you protest outside of an abortion clinic or outside of a religious establishment? Yeah. So we have some rulings that say, oh, well, we have a perimeter around that church that is 100 feet long, 100 feet. 100 feet is too much of an infringement on freedom of speech, but we could do 15 or 20 feet. So you can't be, right in front of the church building. You can still be there protesting, but you can't be yelling in people's faces. So there are legal rulings in the Supreme Court for that. So for this, for example, it would say we should not have unlimited campaign spending, but maybe there's some limit. Maybe even like there's one bill that some Democrats pushed that would tie the amount of like super PAC spending to the amount you could spend on PACs. Would you support some limit in general?
I'd have to think more about that. My instinct, and I'm swayable on this, frankly. But my instinct is no. I think any limit would be arbitrary. Like, as long as, and again, my answer changes if it's foreign funding. If foreign funding, I don't think you should be able to be anonymous or anything like
the
that.
whole tenant media situation.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
That's different. I think that there's good reasons, security reasons to want that to be different. But when it comes to Americans wanting to donate to American causes, I don't know if I support a limit.
Hold on. If it was like what if it was like a dual citizen who was an American and another nationality?
I was going to say, what if they're a Turkish Nepo baby and their billionaire dad leaves them a few $1 billion and then they start sweeping elections for socialism and communism? What if
when that starts happening, let me know. Speaking. Okay.
Let's fucking go.
When that starts happening, let me know. But my problem with like all these laws is it restricts people's ability to anonymously, and I think anonymity is important, right? To anonymously support causes that they want. Like, we wouldn't want to get rid of the anonymous vote, would we? Even though the argument,
I think one thing when you talk about anonymity and when you talk about your rights is there's always a balancing test for these things. Like any right can be curtailed, as they often are. The balancing test oftentimes has to do with how narrowly tailored is whatever law we're looking at to restrict some right, and then what is is there a compelling state interest to do so, right? So I think when we talk about voting, right, like should you have to disclose who you voted for? You have one vote. You're not, swaying an election on your own unless you're, traveling with 400 million illegal immigrants or whatever the Republicans accuse people of doing. But with funding, now you can say that you have a right to privacy there. And when it comes to you buying a thing for your own personal consumption, I think there's a strong argument that you have a right to privacy there. Although conservatives disagree now, apparently, when that comes to pornography in 7 states or whatever, or abortions, I guess, in however many states. But the public also, I think, has an interest in that, right? Like there's a strong public interest in what the soy pill was saying. Let's say that I have this feeling that, man, there sure do seem to be a lot of Second Amendment supporters in the United States of America. I'm seeing this messaging everywhere. Let's say that it came out tomorrow that it was actually literally just Elon Musk because he saw, some laser gun movie and he's like spent $100 billion, $2 billion per state, and it was just him through other companies the entire time. I think people would look at it a little bit differently. Like, well, hold on. Well, now that I know that it's just Elon, who's literally like 98% of the funding of every state, it kind of changes the way that I feel about it. And there is a public interest there,
Yeah, I could be convinced perhaps to have a list where you have like you wouldn't name the names, but you would have the amount of people and the amount donated per person. I can see an argument for that, but my issue with releasing names, right, is this is often used as a vector for harassment to try to pressure people, and it can have a chilling effect. Say again, like if I really do believe that what Soy Pill is doing is correct, and despite the allegations against Soy Pill, you know, should I like?
Yeah, I agree. I understand
How
the
much
chilling
should
effects
the
there, but like
worry
chilling
be of
effects
my
aren't
community, right? Does
chilling
that make
effects aren't
sense?
always bad, right? Because to some extent we want a chilling effect. We don't want one person necessarily to feel comfortable being 99% of the contributions towards one cause across several states, right? We want to chill maybe potentially some types of really intrusive spending there. But now, like, can you avoid chilling individuals who want to donate? Maybe not. I mean, this is maybe why these limits exist. Maybe past a certain amount of money, you'd have to disclose. I personally think it would be challenging, but I think that everybody that does media, I think should have to disclose all of their income sources. I think it would be incredibly.
I don't want to share my OnlyFans donators. Okay.
Well, Wick,
wanna-
regardless of the like, if everyone should disclose thing, I like really quickly want to talk about the like limits thing. This might be asking you to assume something that isn't necessarily what I can prove here because I didn't prepare this. But if you were to accept that a large amount of money, significant, not like from any one person, but from a pool of like multi-million, if not billionaires, was able to sway elections or voter sentiment in certain areas, even if it was on county scale, this isn't general election stuff, would you not say that it is somehow now not fair that individuals who can contribute as much as possible will never be able to match up with people who are able to completely subvert what would otherwise be a free, democratic, free thought election in a smaller place because they're able to shift public sentiment so much with that amount of money? Does that not strike you as something that's a little like undemocratic, or at least something that would be unfair if that was true? I know I can't prove it to you right now.
Sure. Is it unfair? Perhaps, but my interest isn't necessarily in fairness. That's not my overarching concern, though it is something that we should be concerned about. And again, I think that people are disclosing where the money come from in the sense of like, is it being donated out of state? I think that might be fair, right? But when it comes to like my issue and my concern again is coming from what I've seen and how I've seen people behave when they see that someone is supporting, and whether it be financially or otherwise, someone that they hate, and the amounts of that they will go to stop that person, right? And
no, I understand that
can see
pushback, Wick. I also just have an issue with the fact that like a billionaire can put like the dumbest fucking person like Elon Musk in front of Doge because he's able to put so much into this campaign, right? So it's like, I don't think that billionaires should have the ability to make these dumb decisions. I think they should be limited just as much as I am with how much I can donate to a campaign, so that, hey, if you want to support someone, go ahead. Maybe we don't have to disclose. I'd prefer if they did. I understand there could be pushback, but I don't want it to be that, hey, once you get so powerful because you've accumulated all this wealth, you now have essentially more of a vote than I do, depending on how much you agree that that actually has power and influence.
Wait, yeah, not to disagree. I get both sides of it. Like, one, you don't want like some random billionaire or like a corporation like Big Oil dropping billions of dollars into a campaign for a guy who's pro oil. But on the other hand, Wick, what you were saying was like, you said, because I get the argument of for the Citizens United ruling, which is like, for that ruling you would want to have, you shouldn't like necessarily have like a set dollar amount on like,
yeah, they weren't even look. It
what?
wasn't even about a donation. What they did in the Citizen United is they made basically a campaign ad, right, or a video,
Any
anti-Hillary
political
video.
contribution is what I meant to say. This is my first debate. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. You're fine. It's okay.
You should apologize. You're contributing to the debate space, and it's toxic.
I can't do that.
Don't get me violated for TOS, please.
No,
my panel.
I'm sorry.
Wait, I've got a question.
Go ahead, please.
So what about like the public financing option? Because like in New York City, for example, they have like a 12-to-1 match. So it's good because that allows outsiders to actually have a chance to win these seats, right? And I know the tankies love to say that Zoran won based on the affordability stuff, and okay, maybe that's part of it. But they don't talk about the fact that Zoran was the only candidate other than a random third-party candidate to get matching funds. So he was walking into election with like $8 million for a New York City mayor race, right? They don't talk about that. But that's kind of the good part about like the New York City match, and some other cities do this too. Like LA's got like a 6-to-1. Seattle's got democracy dollars. It doesn't stop people though from outside spending, right? So like Cuomo still, outspent him through the PACs, but it just gives those outsiders an opportunity that they wouldn't have otherwise.
This is
What's
a
he?
good
What,
kind
do you
of
have to make like a substantive less amount of money in order to qualify for matching dollars, or how does
What
that
do you
work?
mean?
Like what? So, for instance, let's say Bloomberg was running for mayor and he could throw $1 billion at the campaign, and then Zoran Mandami
presidential
had
campaign.
12
No, you
million.
can't.
2020.
Would Bloomberg be entitled to the match?
No, so they can only make up to a certain amount, and you can't partially participate in the program. So you have to walk into the election saying, like on day one, before you've raised a single dollar, you have to say, I'm declaring I'm going to be part of the matching funds program, which means that you can't raise. First of all, you have to get like 1 million donations in your district, right? And it's not really that many. I think it's something like, I don't know, I can't remember what it is, a couple thousand, right? So they have to get those, and they have to be between like $5 and like $100. And then once you get those and they're all qualified match, so they've proved they live in the city, they've proved that they're a registered voter, all of those things, then you just get that match. So no, like somebody like Bloomberg can't come in and say, oh, I'm going to do matching funds, and then be like, oh, actually, I'm going to raise more money, I'm opting out of it. The other thing is that it does put a pressure campaign on them, because New Yorkers don't like the fact that people don't use the matching funds program, right? So like that sort of dissuades people like Bloomberg and like Cuomo from saying, oh no, I'm just going to use outside money.
I don't mind that because it doesn't restrict the other people from having their voice heard through their money, but it also kind of gives a subsidy, if you will, right, for lack of a better term. I'm not familiar on the specifics of these laws. Obviously, I might quibble on one of those, but I think in spirit and kind of like the concept of it, I have no problem with that. I think that's fine.
This is my argument though with all the far left online, and they never respond to me after I say this. But I'm like, if you guys actually give a fuck about getting like the Zorons elected and you want to do that, get ranked choice voting on the ballot and get fucking matching funds on the ballot. Like you can go out and do that as a private citizen if you want to do that, but they don't.
They're gonna do that because they're lazy.
It's much easier to tweet about it, okay? And
I know, right?
Look, it's super.
Okay, but then we're getting to the transition that I wanted to make. So we've effectively all circle jerked that. Okay, we don't really care about the fact that Democrats are paying Democrats to pay Democrats in order to do electoral stuff. We don't care about that. Okay, now Steven's position is let's just bully leftists endlessly, and the liberals can win without the progressives and the leftists. Okay, I think that might be a flawed strategy. So do we not have a few progressives or leftists here who might say like,
Connor,
hey, bullying is not the way to go?
Connor, I have a thing I want to. You're not appealing to the leftists or the socialists. You're trying to appeal to the leftists that are online and the socialists that are like online. And I feel like that's a much
but that's what I'm saying.
different type of person to like appeal to.
That's actually my point.
Is it a lot of them?
That is my
Like-
actual point. You should be trying to appeal to the actual more progressive, more lefty voters who probably don't even know how to define socialism.
Because they're idiots.
No, I just want to point out, look, I'm a leftist myself. I don't think any of these people should be fucked with at all. I think they should be completely forgotten, left in the dust. Like these people don't even believe in the electoral system. Why would we include them in any movement?
So hold on.
Bravo.
Hold on. Okay, the reason why
They literally think
this is the
liberals
crux.
are
Wick,
fucking
please,
far-right
before we have a nice conversation, I want to make it a little spicy, okay? The point is that we had, I think Steven's the one who brought up the stat. So in Dearborn, Michigan, I think Michigan was lost to Trump. Biden carried it at like 68%, and then Jill Stein took 27 or 28%. And so as a result, Kamala lost the state of Michigan. So the left wing railing about Israel and Palestine, railing about that conflict to a base that was sympathetic to Palestine, did cost Kamala a state. And then also a substantive amount of states were lost by tens of thousands of votes. So every vote counts, including the psychos.
But you have to factor in the people who stayed home because they thought Kamala was too far left, or playing footsie with people who were too far left, that she didn't subsidize.
That was
Kamala's
almost me.
problem. Hold on. Kamala's problem was she tried to play both sides, and both sides didn't like that. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't pass the smell test.
Yeah. it felt disingenuous.
Wait,
okay?
I'm sorry. I need to interrupt you because I don't want to have the "why did we lose" conversation again. And I think what we can talk about here, and to Connor's point, is that there are. Well, I
up on midterms, don't you think?
No, I know that, Connor. But what I'm saying is, when we're talking about especially dark money and like maybe what these lefties, which I think a lot of these lefties, Wick, you said this was disingenuous. I think a lot of the pundits, if you look at like how the Vanguard has responded to it, and how like the article is written, it is coming from a I hate the Democrats point of view, not because it fits into their narrative of, hey, it's just like this dumb idea they had to spend $20 million and find the new Joe Rogan of the left. And it's just like, hey, we can just criticize you and show that this was your fault. However, a lot of the people in these audiences do have these sentiments. Like me, they say, hey, I don't like dark money in politics. I wish we could have more transparency here. I don't like Citizens United. We can talk about that later. The point is, there are plenty of people that I bet we could win over that aren't going to like, toe the line, obviously, but are going to like be sympathetic to knowing, but I bet a lot of people didn't know this, that 1630 is anti-dark money in politics, is about campaign finance reform. So if you were able to communicate that to some of these lefties, I think a fair chunk of them would say, hey, this is still an okay idea. I still want to vote Democrat. And I think there is value in that.
Go ahead, please.
And then piggybacking off of that idea that Soy was saying was, a lot of these audiences in these progressive or socialist spaces are very young. I think they skew like heavily like teenage to like young or like early 20s. So I think that a lot of these people are still very open to having their minds changed. And I think it's important to at least rally the younger, more politically enthusiastic part of that crowd that's not entirely bought into like the far left, like Tanky, like Hassan Piker, Sam Cedar, Taylor Lorenz types, who are so seeded into their careers, who are so ideologically bought in at this point in their life that there's not any hope of really changing their
you need to take that like idealistic youth, like I know I can transform the system, and show them like, unfortunately, Democrats, as much as you might have problems with them, are the way that you're going to have this transformed, and abstaining and letting Trump win is just going to make it worse and harder to do. You need to work with these people and reform it, but you can't do that if they're not even in power.
I don't
think
the answer is just to, well, I'll tell you how. Right, and I'll tell you how you tell the difference between someone who's an honest actor and someone who is a dishonest actor. Like I am not advocating for when someone's like, "Hey, I have some problems with dark money in politics. I heard Chorus did X, Y, and Z. That sounds pretty bad." I'm not advocating that we call them a slur immediately. Okay, I'm advocating that you like, well, actually, and you just lay it out. Like, no, this isn't true. This isn't true, and provide some facts for it. Right, give them some sources, give them some actual evidence. But if they continue to press the point, like, well, that's only one person that you found that criticized Israel, or it's only like 10% of them. If they keep pushing the point, then you call them a slur, okay? Then you can say, no.
Okay, but we're dealing with the same problem, though, which is with Trump, which is effectively like, what is it? Like lies have a head start and are heard around the world before the truth has the chance to put its pants on or whatever in the morning. So we're dealing with that problem. And then on top of that, you're dealing with the problem that you're playing a reactive and defensive game. So effectively, the far left, the lefties or the progressives or whatever, who hate mainstream Democrats, who hate liberals, they make shit up. They talk a bunch of shit. They get their enthusiastic audience all fucking revved up. And then if you're explaining, you're losing. And your solution is explaining.
Hold on.
So how do you become the sexier alternative?
My solution to discerning...
Really quickly, because this is what I came for, I want to talk to what Kilo just said. So I'm going to read you just a couple points here, Kilo, and then I'm going to go back into the debate, okay? One, some of the claims. For example, creators told Wired that they were contract stipulated that they be kicked out and essentially cut off if they acknowledged that they were part of the program. Heidi, the creator, already showed that this wasn't necessarily true. A bunch of these people said they were in chorus, for sure. It also said that the contract said that they were not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 Fund, or functionally that they're being paid at all. We've seen that people had already said that they were being paid, so that's not true. It said that Chorus had to be the person who organized their politicians if they ever went and like spoke to someone like I spoke to Rokana. This is not true. They said, hey, we'd prefer if you used our newsroom booking. However, if you do go with other people, which Heidi showed, you can organize on your own. Please just let us know. And especially if you're using our tool, absolutely run it by us, because you're using our resources to book with politicians. So all of this, you look and it's like, you can have issues with here or there or that sort of thing. But the way that Taylor wrote the article, it does make it look like people were being paid paid to toe the party line. And even FD Signifier was in the chat saying it looked like people were being paid to say pro-Israel stuff, because that is the implication that people are getting from the way this article was written. And that is, as far as I can tell, not at all true. Now, if you have other evidence to show me that it is true, that people did change their opinions because of that money, then please show me. I have not seen that. I think this is incredibly misleading, because really all this is saying is a dark money fund paid 1630, paid Chorus paid people as an incubator program. Some of them said they disclosed it, some of them didn't. Some of them had issues with the way that Chorus said things, but none of them were paid to have opinions. None of them were paid to change their opinions, and none of them were kicked out because they didn't want to toe the party line. That is what people are saying is happening. That is the way that the majority report, Taylor Lorenz, the Vanguard is reporting on this, and I have a huge issue with that, because that is, I don't think, at all what happened. However, if you have evidence, because the Wired article did not give it, that this did happen, let me know. That's my issue. Okay. Back to the thing. Sorry, guys. I really had to get that out because no one here is against me on that, and Kilo is. Not to shove it all on you.
To make sure when there's a young person that comes into politics, they don't see Hassan talk about, oh, there's money, there's secret money controlling everything. You should give a counter message like, hey, Netanyahu paid, these pro-Israel, pro-Zionist groups paid to do propaganda campaigns to target young leftists to say both parties are the same. They ran ads sympathetic to Palestine to get the voter turnout to be suppressed. So when they voted third party or they didn't vote at all, Netanyahu smiled his ass off. He was happy as shit. They gave Netanyahu what he wanted. Lena Khan. You think about the money that was put into the races to get people to not to vote because, oh, the parties are the same. For Lena Khan, they wanted less oversight for corporations. They wanted her to stop trust busting and going after the biggest companies. Lena Khan should be a huge win. And the fact that Hassan Piker could not even say to vote for Biden and Harris based off Lena Khan alone is pathetic, and we need to use it against them. They are the pro-corruption party, and podcasts like The Vanguard is TMZ dipshit bullshit, keeping up with the Kardashians. If you look at their channel, it's all clickbait. They got rich off of convincing people they are the only way to get talk about bad incentives in media. They are the only way to save America, and now they get donations funneled into their channel. They do no advocacy for leftism or centrism or
they're having Taylor Lorenz on tomorrow.
They are TMZ. They are literally just TMZ. They are bullshit. They are pathetic. Kick them out. Kick Hassan out. But people like Kyle Kalinske, he's a chill dude.
No, well, so I think the issue is: are there any counter narratives? Are there counter narratives to anything in the Republican Party by the Republican Party?
No,
Can we think
not
of a
at
single?
all.
There's not. Okay.
I'm the
So
only
issue
motherfucker saying anything about Republican bad behavior.
The issue with counter narrativing people like Kyle Kalinske is you can't do that. The problem is that what we're doing is we're so obsessed with trying to figure out, okay, how do we deal with all these other people who are supposedly part of our political movement who also want to basically single issue destroy the entire movement? You can't do it. This is why it's so important to separate out people unfortunately, people like Kyle Kalinske, Crystal Ball, like all these other people who transform into these single issue voters on Israel-Palestine. The idea of inviting somebody into your political party and then saying that you have a diametrically opposed counter narrative to all these other figures online just doesn't work. It makes you look insane. I think.
How do you cut them out?
You just say they're not Democrats. These people aren't part of our movement. They could be like socialists or communists or whatever else, but they're not. They're not our party.
Okay, but if they have a few hundred thousand, if they have tens of thousands of live viewers and a few 100,000 post-recorded views, and they're popular and they're inside their hug box, then what the fuck do you do about that? Because you can't break in. They're inside their hug box.
I would argue that they aren't even.
But too, then let them go have their people. They can go make their own party if they want. But
they're still influencing hundreds of thousands of people.
That's fine, but there's not even a chance.
That's not fine.
There's not a chance for liberal influencers. They were more popular in 2024 than in 2020. We lost 2024. So that argument doesn't work, okay? Number one. Number two, all the influence they had, they spent it against our candidate. So that doesn't matter. So that's irrelevant, okay? So the issue is that if you want to have a strong liberal movement or a strong liberal people, it can't be that all of our fucking media space is handed over to people that don't give a fuck about winning elections. That's fucking insanity. I don't care how many fucking followers or influencers they have. Fucking Joe Rogan has a lot of followers, and so does fucking Mr. Beast. That doesn't mean that we look to them for political guidance. You just say that these people are not part of our
but
party.
those audiences are able to be captured, Destiny. That's the whole point. If Kamala goes on Joe Rogan and talks for 3 hours, a good chunk of people might see that and say, hey, you've got a good message. So you can't never talk to Joe Rogan. Now you can say, hey, he's not part of the movement. He's not on our side. No. Well, okay, this is what I'm saying is
they're not in our political party. That's what they do. That's a different project.
Okay, fair, but you got to be careful about how you do this, because if you say, hey, you're a Hassan watcher and anyone who watches Hassan is not part of our political movement, I think there's probably millions of Hassan watchers that we could convert into people who are much more reasonable.
You should go into a Hassan chat sometime. That place is crazy.
First of all,
I'm not joking. Those people are fucking insane.
No, I've seen how crazy it can get. I'm just saying, I know Hassan watchers that listen to me in real life that are my friends, and they're like, oh, wait, that's a much more reasonable take. And it's like,
But keep in mind the balance you have here, right? Is that you're trying to present this story where Hassan is part of our movement, guys, and maybe we can pull some of his fans and like we're all kind of like working together. They don't view you as a friend. Like, you're not part of the club. They don't want to be working with liberals. They cut a liberal and a fascist police. They don't want anything to do with the Democratic Party. Their goal is always, single-mindedly, the focus is to destroy the Democrat Party and then to suck as many viewers from the liberals as possible. Why would you want to be in a cooperative relationship with a cancerous leech? That's all they are on the movement. And
hold on, and he's right. Hold on, pause, and
I'm the one that called him out too, so...
Well, can I answer the question real quick because he asked it to me?
1 second, and she's right. I know that you two had things that you wanted to say. You can go ahead right now, and then we can get. I just want to make sure people who want to speak are able to.
Yeah, we don't. We don't.
No, sorry. Yeah, I don't know why we're like including these people in our movements. Anyways, it's so much easier, and you don't have to sit there and demonize every Hassan watcher. You can just say like, look, this guy's not invited to our events. He's not allowed. These people aren't supporting our movement. And I want to dispel this myth that like young people aren't voting because of like Palestine. You can look at the like post-election polls, the exit polls. Palestine wasn't even in like the top 5. I think people are not just like not voting because of Palestine. And then you look at like the youth voter base and you can ask them, why didn't you vote this election? And the majority of the reasons are like, oh, I fucking forgot. I wasn't registered to vote. I mean, like, why do you think like the people done Fuck America Tour and all these different PACs are trying to get students to register to vote? It's because these people are like the youth voter base and they're just like missing out elections just because they're like weren't registered.
Okay, so this is what I'm asking though. Sorry, real quick. This is important.
Okay, yeah.
So we collectively are either creators or aspiring creators. That's what we do, right? And so there's a variety of ways that we can spend our time, money, and energy. Now, I wake up every single day and I just talk shit about whatever's hot. If there's like a new drama, a new news cycle, Trump's dying, whatever, that's what I'm talking about. And so that gives me super chats, money, time, influence, all that kind of stuff. I'm very small, but I'm trying, right? But the point is that so how much of our energy do we spend attacking the far left and saying, you can't sit with us, you're not part of our club? How much of our time do we spend showing that MAGA and Trump are illiberal, anti-republic, authoritarian pieces of shit? And how much of our time do we spend, I don't know, doing something like Z's trying to do, which is like coalition build a TP USA counter to the existing TP USA? And the truth is, I have such a small amount of time, money, and energy that I can only do what I can do. And I don't know the answer to this or how to coordinate our energy and effort.
How much time did the Republicans spend on this?
They have a lot.
Wait. The Republicans spend so much time. How many times do we have to listen to Jordan Peterson stumble through his horrible takes on history to prove that Nazis were actually on the left? They didn't say, well, we'll allow Nazis to be on our movement. They said National Socialists, atheists. These were left-leaning people. How many times have you heard, right? How many times has a Republican said, well, there were slave owners that were, part of our movement. And, we said, no, they didn't. They said Democrats were the party of slaves. Republicans freed the slaves. Republicans do this all the fucking time.
Wait, are you saying bad propaganda or are you saying cutting out the cancer?
No, I'm saying that Republicans don't sit here and say, well, we accept all these extremist groups on our side. They relabel them as the left. They do this with every single movement. And then meanwhile, the left is like, well, we don't have time to cut out Hassan Piker. We have to accept that all of these people are part of our movement. We're actually
call them what they are, Trump's strongest soldiers. These are Trump's strongest soldiers.
Are we saying
Taylor Loren, Hassan, they're all Trump starters. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The point is, if you have a limited amount of
is our politics so weak that MAGA can make a coalition with the damn Proud Boys and January 6ers, but we can't find a way to make overly leftist college kids work for our movement? But
the difference is that all of those people on the right, if you ask them at the end of the day, what do you agree with Trump on? Well, the hardcore people, he's not a Christian, he doesn't support the ethno-state, okay, so what, you didn't vote? You voted for Kamala? Fuck no, I voted for Trump. Meanwhile, on the left, you can run down with leftists 10 different issues. He didn't fight for 15-hour minimum wage? I didn't vote for Biden. He didn't have the right position on Gaza? I didn't vote for Biden. it's instead of solidarity,
buddy, you're brain poisoned by the internet. You're brain poisoned by the internet. The actual voters in college campuses. You should join Z more, going on actual organizing trips on these college campuses. It's not a Hassan chat room. There's tons of people who say, I'm a leftist, I'm a communist, but we need Democrats to win to protect me and my friends. They will do that. You have to go in the real world for a little bit.
We got them.
Yes, I understand. I guarantee you I've spent more time in the real world political movements than you have. Number one. Number two, then appeal to those people. I'm not saying that every single person who identifies as a socialist or a communist is kicked out. I'm saying that the content creators you don't consider part of your movement. If you want to appeal to Hassan fans, I think Connor said it earlier, that's great. But that sure as fuck doesn't mean you have to invite Hassan and pretend he's a friend. I hope that I appeal to Nick Fuentes fans or Trump fans or whatever else. That doesn't mean you have to invite them and say, oh, this is my best friend Donald Trump. We're going to do, play video games with him until all of his fans convert. Like, there's a difference between appealing to the fans and the actual content creators and working with them as other equals or part of the movement.
So one question.
But didn't you do that, though?
Call the Republican Party. If he calls the Republicans a fascist death cult and he's going to vote for any Democrat, is that good for you?
The problem is he is also the single issue Israel-Palestine voter. You can't. I'm sorry, but you can't support a party while saying that it's the party.
But he'll vote Democrat. But he'll vote Democrat. He'll vote Democrat, though, right? He'll vote Democrat.
He'll vote Democrat. You're not going to get people to vote for the party of genocide. Sorry.
Okay, so if Israel and Palestine conflict ends before the midterms, wait.
They vote Republican. If they vote Democrat, it's good.
Can I ask Jola a question? That's your name, right, Jola? Okay, so if I spend 300 days of the year beating the shit out of my girlfriend, but on one day of the year I said, you know what, I'm going to be nice to my girlfriend. My girlfriend's the best. Should we accept that? Kyle Kalinske and his ilk will spend 300 days of the year shitting on us, shitting on liberals, shitting on the Democrats, shitting on the Democratic Party. But one day a year, for maybe a month, they'll be like, oh, no, you should vote Democrat. Why would we ever accept that?
It's also the fact
Kyle
that Republicans
has spent more time giving Biden credit for his domestic policy than any of these leftists. I'm not saying they're all okay, but he's been by far better than any of them. And when you bring up an example, an analogy about beating your wife, it shows your internet poisoning even further. What I'm saying is these coalitions on college campuses, you're going to meet people who are on the far left, who their single issue might be a Palestine Gaza, but you can still have them in your coalition. They still volunteer. They still will vote for trans people or for black people. And that's one big issue that online progressives do have. I'm saying on the broad level, if you look at 95% of the voters who were in that coalition did vote that direction. What I'm saying is we should not fully cut out the creators, who they know. We should be using at least rhetoric they are familiar with. So, for example, if there's a vacuum for content that's anti-corruption, we can use a strong liberal anti-corruption message that's not going to violate, like, for example, Kyle Kalinske and Hassan want to just like vacate the Congress. That's not good, but we could have a strong liberal framing that sounds a little bit populist, like Barack Obama did, like John Ossoff is doing right now. We just need to fill the vacuum here so these young kids don't be fully sucked into these arenas. I'm just saying we should not fully write them off and say they're evil devils and use the words like tanky. The word tanky no one ever uses, and Destiny says that word like 50,000 times a day.
So if we're appealing to 95% of the people and they're already leaning towards the Democratic Party, why should we be appealing to the final 5%?
We're hold on, yeah, we're playing a game where you keep mixing up like the fans and the content creators themselves. Also, Kyle Kalinske is literally the closest one on the line. I agree that he's better than every other person. I've literally gone back and forth on him like 12 times in the past 6 months. But his foreign policy is just so fucking retarded. He's so brain broken on it that I think he's a lost cause. And Crystal is fucking way the fuck out there. Like, I'm sorry, he's too brain broken on that shit. And was he also like a force the vote dipshit? I don't remember if he got hung up on that issue too. But the audience, of course, you can appeal to. This is what, like, I think that things like saying that, like, the situation in Gaza, even if you want to say that it's a genocide, like, sure, but that's like all the more reason to support a Democratic candidate, because sure as fuck isn't going to do anything about it. But you can't do that while you are appearing aligned with the commie whatever content creators. It's just impossible because they're constantly undermining you and shitting on you and attacking you like all the time.
but Destiny, like you said, they are these single issue voters. So let's say that I got a good word. I've been holding this in for a while. Please let me finish.
Hold on, Soyful first.
Right. So like, okay, it's a single issue thing. No matter what, he's never going to support the party of genocide, as he says. This is the Democrats. So let's say the Israel-Palestine conflict resolves before the midterms, and all of a sudden now we have someone who's willing to work with and organize his million viewer audiences to canvass and door knock for people that is no longer, thrown off by the single issue vote. Why wouldn't we want that to help us win?
Here's the problem.
When we are facing existential, like,
they have to come to us. Leftists do this all the time. They're the biggest losers and they make you seem cool for them and have to work harder to reach out to them. Fuck that.
I didn't say we had to reach out to them. I'm just saying we don't excise the creators if they're willing to help us.
Get on board or stay the fuck back. I'm tired of wasting effort reaching out to these people.
Right, in the same way that I don't think we should be spending...
These down as action items. I would want to extract these as action items, though, because it seems like we're looping a little bit. So if we were talking about action items, and I'm not saying everybody agrees with this, but it seems like people are saying, say, the content creators, Taylor Lorenz, Hassan Piker, pick your least favorite leftist, say the content creator is Trump's biggest or best soldier, in that they have horseshoed to the point that they are politically counterproductive and I don't like them and they can go fuck themselves. However, if you're a reasonable progressive or an incrementalist leftist or something like that, I would like it if you stuck around in my community to hear what I had to say. That kind of sounds like the takeaway that I'm hearing.
A little bit like that, but more importantly, what she's right. I'm saying the same. The thing is that if you look at a normal environment, if you're going to a party that has infinitely more leverage and power than you, what you're doing when you go to that party, you're saying, okay, I understand you got all the power, you got a leverage here. I'm going to work with you, all right? But I'm going to try really hard to push you on this one issue, and that's okay. So like, if Kalinsky and these other people are like, you know what, I'm going to join the Dems, but I'm gonna bully you guys on Israel Palestine, then fine, that's okay. But you can't show up with nothing because these people's political influence is nowhere near. And like how many ultra progressives or socialists are in Congress? Like 2.5 maybe, right? Depending on who you count in the House, right? They can't come like they've got all the political power. Like, you need to come all the way over to me on Israel Gaza. You need to come all the way over here on Medicare for all and force the vote and 25 an hour minimum wage. Like, excuse me, fuck no. Like, if you're not willing to bridge and come in our direction at all, you're acting like we have to match you in every single way. And the way that these people talk is very indicative too, because these people always talk with this air of, well, the whole electorate actually agrees with me. If you just look at the right polling data, you guys just need to catch up. It's like, no, fuck that. With that's you don't go that far. You don't travel that far to those people. Grow your Brian Tyler Cohens and your David Packens and everybody instead.
Okay, well, as long as you're saying if they're willing to come to us and help us, then I agree with that
Hold
completely.
on.
But
All right, pause. Vince, you can speak first because you haven't had a ton of opportunities. Then she's right. Then the soy pill. Go.
Also, on the side note, Crystal Ball and Breaking Points are extremely pro-Russian, and also I want to ask you guys, how much money do you think is it acceptable for creators to accept of dark money?
Depends on the situation. I mean, not every creator is gonna be doing the same.
7
thing
figures.
The same.
How much are they willing to give me?
To be a fixed rate.
The only thing that we should bring back is they can accept any amount of money, but donations over $5,000 are no longer protecting the privacy of individual donors, but speak to manipulation by big donors and big corporations. So accept any amount of money, disclose 5,000 and up.
Why that amount? Like, why have you drawn the limit?
That's
at
just what the
5,000?
rule was a few years ago until Trump got rid of it, and now this is where we are.
Also,
those are FEC. It's like 3,000 for an individual, 5,000 for an whatever. That's like the FEC.
Just to wrap up what you were saying before, I do want to say it seemed to me that the language was we are excising these people no matter what because of what is rightfully so. When you hear them say things like "I hate the Democrats, I will use their power to subvert them completely." Yeah, I think that's fucking insane. But like, if based on what I'm hearing, if they are willing to come and say, "Hey, we're going to pressure you super hard, but we will help out," and we're not kicking them out when they do that, then I'm cool with it. So yeah, just to be clear.
Also,
I have a question to ask the panel. Like, I know Destiny was speaking about earlier, like sometimes some people can't be reached whatsoever, but like we need people in general in our movement in order to win elections. Do we reach to the far left, the center right, both, neither? Like, how do we get more people in general? Like, how do we get media? And
I've
how
seen
do
a lot
we
of
build
people.
like an ecosystem, like what fucking Charlie Kirk and his fucking little teeth, big gum, big head ass is doing.
We literally
Okay,
know what the person's doing. Just
I've seen a lot of people online saying that we need to appeal to leftists.
No.
I don't think that's true. I don't think they're big enough to meaningfully appeal to.
Who do we appeal to?
I think moderates, appealing to moderates is probably the best way to go forward. I mean, like, look, if Connor brought up the was it the 2024 Michigan state election, like the Green Party, they only got 44,000 votes, and that would not have been enough to flip it from like Democrat to Republican. But if you could take away from the Republican votes, that might give you a chance, even if it's just like 100,000 votes or something like that. I know
True. Vote, period, including non-voters. We had lower turnout in 24 than 20. We just need to get people to vote for us. Like, people to vote to show out for us in general. Especially with higher turnout, elections typically go to Democrats anyway, typically.
Well, you know who actually votes? Republicans vote. So
exactly.
Appeal to moderate Republicans. I mean, that's what I'm saying. But I know there's not many of us left. But
so I have a question.
Our big tent to get bigger. The biggest tent ever.
Yes,
we
need a big tent, but ironically, and perhaps the way to do that is there are a lot of people who I know personally, right, both online and off, that the reason that they no longer vote Democrat or are hesitant to vote Democrat is because who they feel, and I don't think this is entirely true, right? I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, but they feel that the Democrats are beholden to the left, and the left loves this dynamic, right? Because the left feels that they can hold us hostage in a lot of ways. There was I forget his name, but he tweeted something like, Democrats, if you try to run Gavin Newsom, we'll make sure you lose, right? And all these kind of weird threats that they give. We just need to assert ourselves, remind people who's actually in control, and then act like it. We can't.
Wait. You're saying liberals need to grow a spine?
Yes.
Okay, do you think that's going to happen, though?
Yes. We need to make being a liberal sexy again. We need to, again, I'm a hard R liberal, which means I don't care if people use it as a slur, right? I'm going to identify as a liberal, and I think we need to just stand on that, because left and right has turned liberal into a slur, into a dirty word, and we need to make it sexy again.
Being a liberal is lame now in society.
I am Mr. Fox. Thank you for the $5. You know what you need to do right now? We need to split up into and argue with ourselves. That way we can give the right the best chance we can. Yeah, I am so tired. I can't believe this turned into this fucking argument. I'm so annoyed. I'm so fucking annoyed. I wanted to talk about the article. Not a single person is against what I came here to talk about. Maybe Kilo will come on after. I'm very frustrated. This is the debate that I've refused now multiple times. I say yes to everything. I've refused this debate several times because it's been happening so many times. What do we do with the left? What do we do with the left? What do we do now? How do we change messaging? I'm so fucking tired of this. Sorry, guys.
Back. That's what we need. We
What's
need.
up, Vince?
Well, there's a white Obama somewhere. It's that
president
preacher.
We need.
It's that priest from Texas. The white Obama.
Yeah,
You
I
guys
have
see
a
who-
question.
What that guy's name is? I forget.
Go ahead, Vince.
What is Citizens United?
It was a Supreme Court decision made 2010,
yeah,
something
It was
like that,
2011.
which basically noted that organizations, money counts as free speech, basically, from corporations. A lot of people don't like that decision. I think it was rightly decided.
I would disagree.
But I'm in the minority on the left on this, but it is my view. So
Okay, so sounds like we came up with some takeaways or whatever as far as like doing the online sphere, I suppose. But then then what's like next steps? What's executables? What's your specific measurable, action-oriented, realistic time-based?
One more ask. We do not need a Joe Rogan of the left. I would give up 100 Joe Rogans of the left for one Hassan Piker of the right. There is no dissent among this movement. They are a cult, fully bought in. When Elon Musk was there, it was sowing division and pulling apart a movement's sense of distrust and who to be with all the time. And there's never been in the past decade anything nearly as effective.
We need like a Mark
You
Cuban
definitely
to
don't need a
finance
Hassan Piker.
left movements. We
Who even
need like
coined
a
that term?
billionaire that finances the left, the liberals. We need a big ecosystem, a media ecosystem, like ground game, registering the vote ecosystem. We need that here at the left. They have fucking Turning Point USA, and they have fucking Nick Fuentes in his fucking basement dwellers, and we need people on our side that can be. They play dirty. We need to play dirtier.
We got to do voter fraud.
No, hold on.
Not what I meant. No voter fraud.
Look, this play dirtier. I don't agree with that. I think that one of the
we
things
haven't
that
already
we
been doing it for 4 years.
I want to win.
We need a Charlie Kirk of the left who's
is
raising money
that
and
part of-
organizing people to vote and countering the Charlie Kirk movement. It'd be crazy if someone was doing
Part
that.
of like this
That'd be
chorus
weird if we had an
conversation?
organization like that. I don't know.
Isn't that part of our chorus conversation? Is playing dirtier, accepting
No,
dark
because
money, and
disagree about dirtier, it's
like
about
doing
dirty.
whatever it
We don't
needs
have
to
any
win
voices.
elections? I mean,
We need to
If
win.
only there was someone here who ran a pack and also ran a tour about that kind of stuff. That would be crazy.
That would be so crazy.
I would join that pack.
No, but seriously, I think that like I agree with the Joe Rogan stuff, but I mean the most worrying thing right now is like how do we foster like a Scott Presler, a Charlie Kirk on the left when we're dealing with these leftists? And I agree with Destiny in that I think we should fucking bully them, because for the past 10 years we haven't done shit. Like we've just sat back and we've let them bully everybody. It's not like Unfuck America and National Ground Game were like the first ever groups to try this, right? Like almost every single group on the left implodes itself. Black Lives Matter, Next Gen America. I could list probably fucking 50 of them, like off the top of my head, that were at one time strong groups and then were imploded by the far left. So
Well,
I,
you know
what I'm
what?
trying to advocate for on the changing of the framing, though, and I've said this like a million times. People keep calling it a circular firing squad, but it's just a firing squad. They're not imploding; they're being destroyed. Right? Groups that have a common interest and that have a huge goal in furthering something don't implode. Why would you? You get over your differences and you figure your shit out to move in the direction that you want to in order to make a better whatever your policy is aimed at. The only way it can implode is if something is more important than that policy goal. And for the leftists, there is something that's more important, and that's the destruction of the Democratic Party or whatever liberal group they're a part of if they're not going to be socialists.
This is where real quick.
This is important, right?
They're not
This is what.
imploding, or
No, it's parasitism. They want to infect our movement, infect these movements, and to destroy them because they're not in charge. They think that if they can destroy the democratic movement, that voters will come to them and they will be ascendant and be able to be in charge and be in control. And if we do not give them the control, that they will sabotage us. So we just need to stop letting them hold us hostage.
Hold on. So, no, I have to make this point. Just let me in real quick because I swear to God, it's at least funny. So this is where North and I are probably in a privileged position as the Never Trump Republicans, because I don't think y'all can fucking do it. Okay. Part of the reason why over the past decade, whenever they were like, oh, Republicans, moderate Republicans, Trump is so bad, why don't you come over to the Democrats? And it's because like the Democrats are a bunch of fucking cannibalistic freaks who can't get out of the fucking parking lot before they stab each other over some random fucking ideological difference on economic policy or identity. So I'm basically going to say, no balls, y'all can't do it, rise to the challenge, get it done. But you got to step to it because I don't know.
I would argue that there's a
kind of to build off of that. Which is why no one wants to be a Democrat.
What's that?
It's not cool to be a Democrat now. You say you're a Democrat.
I was actually just about to say that. The far left, the progressives have made
being a Democrat lame.
Being socialist, being, like super pro-trans, pro-BLM, blah, 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 all this random shit. They've made that like such a super sexy aesthetic that it has such, at least on a cultural level, a really strong appeal. Because I think it's kind of similar. Sorry?
Really? Because like people don't like, it's not very popular right now when it comes to like the whole.
No, it's this is the challenge. It is super popular where it's at, but I don't know how this happened, but somehow progressives and tankies have like co-opted politics, but it's just an aesthetic. It's really effective for their social groups, but it's not effective for winning election. The difference is like the right is like politically minded, right? Like again, I can point this out. Like these motherfuckers thought the 2020 election was literally stolen, and they still showed up to vote in 2024. Like these guys are relentless when it comes to
the
voting.
right.
They vote. They're organized around politics, and the far left or the progressives or whatever. And when I say this, okay, so that I'm not triggering Joel over there because I know he's getting triggered. Okay, so to be clear, okay, I'm talking about like the content creators, whatever. Like 90% of the people that quote unquote supported Bernie Sanders voted for the Democratic candidate. Okay, this isn't like oh my God, all the progressives. We're mainly talking like the content creators and like the really loud figures in this group. But then, like Connor said, the issue that you run into is we don't police like who you vote for on the left for some fucking stupid fucking pointless fucking reason. On the right, you can say whatever the fuck you want, but if you don't vote for Trump, they're going to literally castrate you. On the left, we like give you a pat on the back and it's like, oh, I understand if you don't want to support the candidate because we weren't democratic enough or we weren't whatever the fuck, right? And then the Republicans throw that same logic in our face. Trump didn't even do a fucking debate because he didn't think that he had to do anything for a primary would.
The right is culturally and politically much more aligned than the left, which is significantly more disjointed.
I don't think it's just on voting.
The black pill is the reason Trump won is because of low information voters, low propensity voters, and also evangelical voters. So also that voter base that watches Theo Vaughn, watches Joe Rogan, and they believe just whatever they hear on Twitter and all this disinformation and misinformation. Those people just walked up to the polls and they were just like, oh, I guess I'll vote for Trump because he seems like the fun guy. He seems like the dad that lets me curse, and the liberals are gonna language police me. And I think we're improving on those grounds. And also, Destiny, I would love to have an actual conversation about this, but there's too many people here. Too many people. But the
right is really great at simplifying politics and making it much more black and white than it actually is.
I don't think it's a matter of simplifying politics. I think it's a matter of labels. Like if you're on the right in America, you're a conservative, and there's like the Never Trump Republicans, who's arguably very small, and then there's the libertarians, who are also very small. But then if you look on the left, you have the progressives, you have the liberals, you have like the tankies, you got all these different groups, and they all fucking hate each other.
Well, even in the language, hold on.
The problem is you don't have the liberals as like 99% of the group.
Even in the language that you're using, it's tankies, it's progressives, it's socialists, it's communists, it's liberals, it's all of these different categories on the left, which is way more fractured than the right, whereas the right is much better at just otherizing into our group versus their group, right?
Yep.
If you're not with us, you're a
right
rhino.
is
If
under,
you're
like,
with
the
us,
same
you're a
label of, like,
socialist. All of the
conservative.
Democrats are socialists.
It's because they vote, though. That's their unifying thing. Like on the left,
Yes.
we have all these different, like the right has a lot of different groups, arguably as well, right? Like look at this young break apart between, you had the whole H-1B fight over are Indians good or do we hate them?
Right,
like Canadians do. We've got different opinions on fucking Israel between, especially younger or further right voters. Like, but the right is really good about keeping everybody voting. That's the important thing. And somehow on the left, we gave up our entire media apparatus to people that don't give a fuck about winning elections.
Well, hold on.
Just
It's because we hate and fear the far left more than we hate and fear each other. That's one of the interesting things. Rob Noor and I have had existential political fucking differences about the way that we view the world, to the point that we've got into like really, really harsh debates, but I still think he's probably a good guy. He pays his bills. He takes care of his wife. He takes care of his community and all that kind of shit. So my point being that like y'all need a unifying enemy. And if MAGA isn't the unifying enemy, you're fucked.
Because we have a problem with competing incentive structures. We have what helps us win nationally and the messaging and the policies and the positioning that we help us win nationally, but it does not help the individual content creator for the most part. You will be attacked if you do what is effective nationally by these smaller groups. And because you are an individual and we don't support each other, we just don't, right? You're left to this relatively small group that's able to swarm you and just destroy you. And so you are scared to do what would be nationally palatable. Look,
Guys, I'm sorry. The reason I'm not engaged is because I've had this debate like 3 times, and MS the Fox, thank you for the $2. I agree. I hate that I'm having this conversation again. We hate the left more than the right. Yeah, I fucking get it. What do we do about it? Doesn't matter, because people aren't going to excise them. They're going to have a huge platform. You have to, it doesn't mean you have to work with them and say they're good, but at the very least, they're not going anywhere, and you have to engage with that. And I'm just so tired of this conversation. I want to talk about the article so bad. One person reached out and they're like, midly pro article. I want to talk to like the Vanguard people or something. Or Kilo, who was talking about this sort of dark money in politics, but it looks like he's not here right now, so I'm very frustrated right now. But I hope you guys are having a good time. This is not a terrible conversation. I'm just a little tired of this circle, same thing every time, and we're never going to come to a conclusion.
Points more, and there's so much more infighting. Like, there's the regular liberals, there's the regular Democrats, there's the center left, the mid left, and there's like the socialists and communists and stuff like that, and they all fight each other and whatever. But like,
but if a unifying enemy doesn't unify you, you're fucked.
No, if we were allowing like debate, that's one thing. But what we've created is like selective invulnerability to some groups to come in and to just say the most fucking retarded things, and then to pretend that like that's a legitimate position, and we all have to pretend that's a legitimate position.
Hey, we pretend that that's a legitimate position. I'm saying that
that's part of coalition building.
Call him retarded.
No, that's part of coalition building, you dumbasses.
It's not
Dude,
just
you have blacks, you have Hispanics, you have immigrants, you have Indians, you got Asians. No. You have to coalition build, you dumb fucks.
Yeah, but coalition is held together by a common thing, and the
common enemy.
It should be the common enemy.
They have to vote. That's what the most important thing. Common enemy is not enough, because the Jolie guy said it earlier. Kyle Kalinske fucking hates Donald Trump or whatever, and I'm sure Crystal Ball hates Donald Trump. But when you're constantly saying both parties are the same,
yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, fuck, I don't know. Does that fucking matter?
Yeah. What's the common enemy if they see Republicans, Democrats as the exact same thing?
Yeah, that's not good, because to them they are the same thing because they're not part of our coalition.
We need to build a coalition to fight the chance of fascist. That's what we need to do.
I agree with those criticisms. I think the really funny thing, though, is we have this entire topic where we're like, oh, we need to defend the liberals against this article, and we got to have these fierce debates over this article. And we have a room right now with 14 liberals who are here defending ourselves against no one. And I think that's kind of an analogy for what we're talking about here. It's hilarious.
No.
That's a really good point. Wait, but why? Wait. Why is it that 14 liberals were able to show up, but not a single leftist? Because they don't give a fuck. Because they're not here to build a bridge to
They
us.
don't vote.
The only thing
reached
they
out.
care
True.
about
That is a
to
good point.
destroy this
people
movement.
vote.
They
We
don't
need
give a
to
fuck about
vote.
engaging. There's
Jerking
no
true.
debate to be had here, right? They don't have to justify themselves to you. Look at the responses to any number of tweets. It's just making fun of them. They are all on the same messaging points where I've seen every single dipshit go, oh, so now the Wired's not credible? Yeah, give me a fucking break, right?
I reached out
to debate or to persuade or whatever. They're just there to make fun of the liberals until they die. Yeah.
And they're going to circle jerk with each other. Tomorrow, the Vanguard is hosting Taylor Lorenz.
Sorry, hold on. Pause. Corbin, and then Jonah, then wait.
No, I was gonna say, like, even anecdotally piggybacking off of what Destiny was saying, I reached out to like 5 pretty large progressive content creators. Every single one denied to have this conversation, either because 1, Destiny was involved, or 2, because they said they didn't want to have the discussion, even though they publicly comment. I reached out to people who had specifically publicly commented on the Taylor Lorenz thing in positive to the article.
Then it's good to have this conversation without them, rather than censor our own messaging, trying to appeal to perfectionists.
No, but the mere fact that they aren't here sends a message that they aren't willing to build a coalition. Like,
but it also says an important thing, right? Because it's something that Republicans have done so well to us too, with the Trump derangement syndrome and everything else. Okay, because it's not even that they're not here; it's that they're not here. They're not interested in our movement, but they're still dictating our conversations, which is what the Republicans are so good about doing to liberals. Is that we have to talk. That's why Gavin Newsom has been so effective. Even if you don't like him, even if he's retarded, the fact that people are going on Fox News and they're crying about whatever Gavin Newsom is tweeting means that they're not talking about fucking some trans issue. They're not talking about some immigrant that got in a fucking car accident or whatever other stupid shit. Now they're on the defensive and they have to play Gavin's game as Gavin is making them look unhinged. The only what we need to do is we need to be the meme comic where there are 5 people that are talking to each other and then one guy screams something from the side and then somebody else gives them the thumbs up and then we just go back to talking about our shit. Like that's what every conversation should be, because none of these people give a fuck about the Democrats, our movement, or anything else.
What I'm hearing is none of us should have showed up today. We should have ignored the criticism.
Yeah, I kind of want to wrap.
Should we just not have these debate panels then when it comes to like these like leftist controversies then?
Not if they don't want to debate it. No, fuck
exactly.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, like, what the fuck is the point? If they're too scared to have the conversation, then yeah, because Republicans weren't the one that wrote this article. You think Republicans are going to come after Democrats for a fucking dark money fucking group? That's like they would laugh at shit like that. Like, there's just
their own groups to worry about.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, we got one panel in. Good job, team.
Nice. I kind of wanted to almost wrap back around to what Destiny was saying earlier about there being like lots of different points of view in the MAGA movement. I agree. There's a lot of
good news, everyone. Kilo just added B on Discord, which means we're going to wrap this up and then we can talk to him about the actual substance of the article and what did or did not happen, what is true, and whether or not it's a bad thing. Thank Christ. Kilo, I really appreciate your time. So let's wrap this up and actually have a conversation about the fucking article. Holy shit. I can't believe everyone here is on the same page. Did I just go super chat? Ben Raleigh, thank you for the 5. Ben Raleigh's awesome, guys, by the way. I wish he made content. For people who call themselves liberals, I gotta say, they do allow leftists to live rent-free in their heads, unfortunately.
So, piggybacking off of what Corbin Sales said, we need to be in control. We need to be open-minded to people. But if, like, some crazy, like, fucking weirdo decides that they want to like represent us, that they can't represent us. Like we need to make sure that the narrative shifts to we accept people. We need to be the party who accepts more, but we don't need to accept everything. Like, cause like keep in mind that the Republicans have their God King and they have everyone else below them. Even with disagreements, they still support their God King. That's the advantage they have over us.
Yeah, but just what they're doing is they accept everybody, but they appeal only to themselves. But what they're telling what people tell us to do is to appeal to everybody else, and in an attempt to accept them. Right? Donald Trump doesn't change anything when he's trying to appeal to other people. He just does because they view him as a useful vessel. And even
but this is bad tactics, you dumb fucks. Because number one, yes, it is, because you're saying that y'all need to be in charge of the ship. You need to be the captains. You need to be in charge, and you need to say whoever's along with us is along for the fucking ride, but we're setting the agenda. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, number one, I don't think any of you could name me a single person who is capable of unifying the Democratic Party, not just within the left liberal divide, but even within liberals themselves.
I got one.
And then not just that, You have to build a coalition. You
got
have
one.
multiple parties. You have the Black community. You have the Hispanic community. You have the immigrant community. You have the non-immigrant community. You have the well-educated. You have the poor. Do you know who fucking Republicans have? Republicans have the middle class, multiracial, and they got white, straight, white and straight.
I got a guy.
So y'all have to appeal to more people.
I have an answer. And we have my governor of my state in Pennsylvania, which is a purple state, has huge, high approval ratings, even among Republicans. Okay, he's bipartisan coalition. Josh Shapiro. He's able to get shit done. He's demonstrated that he's able to appeal across party lines. The leftists hate him already. Okay, so that's a plus in my book, right? And I think that if he were to run in 2028 and we nominated him and we supported him, I think he would sweep. I think he's got great normie appeal.
I said Jew partially as a joke, but I'm telling you that that's a political liability. And I'm not saying that he can't win. I'm not saying he can't do well. What I'm saying, though, is that he needs to have perfect rhetoric that appeals across like 4 or 5 demographics.
All we're missing is Tyler, average debate enjoyer, coming in here and saying that we need to have John Fetterman be the face of the party. Thank you, Jacob Hawley, for the $5. Lefties need to get offline and push their politicians in Congress and Senate so they can stop money to Israel. I agree. Like, I recently read some DSA platform stuff that I'm not a big fan of. They want to cut funding to USAID. Guys, come on, USAID is good. I understand that it's imperialism, but it's fine. But guys, if you want more Zorans, who, by the way, I think is a little more credited to him and his marketing campaign, but you know what? Progressive Victory, they were doing phone banking for him. The DSA and the socialists came out and campaigned for him. Go join your local DSA chapter. Go figure out who you want, who aligns the most with you, and do groundwork, volunteer, call people, because it's never going to happen. As we can see, the infighting is not going to stop. You're just going to have to overwhelm with what hopefully will be your better ideas. I hope this wraps up soon. I really want to talk to Kilo.
That's a big thing right there. But I think Kalkowski's principled. He's a little goofy sometimes, but I think he's a good dude. The other ones I don't really care about. Vanguard, disgusting. Hassan, disgusting. All that kind of stuff. But my concern is being too dismissive of the left rhetoric, not because of just appealing to the left, but because low propensity, low information voters, they like the message of being anti-war. That's why Trump lied about it. They like the message of universal health care. Many Trump supporters that call into my show, I guarantee I talk to more Trumpers than all of you, even Destiny. I do this dumbass show with my phone number on YouTube Shorts, so I hear a bunch of the Jim Dobbs, Are
you the guy that does the YouTube Shorts? I think I've seen your content.
Yeah, the Appalachia Crackers.
Yeah,
the Appalachia Crackers are wild. But yeah, those appeals matter for independents as well. That's why you'll see like an AOC get a lot of crossover vote from like the Trump voters. It's not because of ideological reasons. They just like hearing the narrative of the elites versus the elites versus the establishment. So if we can get someone like John Ossoff, I think is doing a really good job being a more center politician who is also adopting a campaign centered on anti-corruption. I don't know if like Wick would be okay with like a John Ossoff as a centrist, but yeah,
I don't mind.
I think generally what we need to focus on is, that the just anti-corruption narrative. And also, like, if you look at the top reasons people voted for Trump was like gas prices, egg prices. People are concerned about getting by and just living and existing and like feeding their fucking families. And I also think like for the younger part of the base and even part of like MAGA or centrist, they don't want to be told what to do or what they can't say. They don't want to be censored. They want to be able to say retard and smoke weed and tweet out edgy tweets. And they like this narrative, I think, that Gavin Newsom's putting out. Like
Connor, someone mentioned John Ossoff. You didn't say Jew, just so you know, you forgot.
I have a question for the panel.
My Jewish radar is off.
I got a question for the panel. This is something that's going on in my mind. Is Trump an anomaly? Like, does the Democrats really need a Trump for the Democratic Party? Like, after Trump, I don't think there's any unifying factor, like, after Trump.
I disagree.
Right? So,
does
there need to be someone equivalent to Trump on the Democratic Party, or just someone large enough that they can beat the Republican Party in 2028?
So,
like Obama, too.
If I may.
Obama. We need a second Obama.
No, if I may. I think that it's a mistake to think that Trumpism will die with Trump. I don't think so. I think that the right largely has a common enemy that they have nominated Trump as the strongest soldier to be against, right? But I think that they will still have that common enemy, the what they consider the leftist, right? And that boogeyman will continue to be ginned up. So I don't think when Trump either dies or when Trump stops running again, I don't think Trumpism dies with him. That's my opinion.
the reason what made Donald Trump so successful in like politics in general is because like even though he's like a completely newcomer, how he was able to appeal to young people was like he had an image behind him. Like even before he entered politics, like he was already world famous for being like a billionaire who was around a lot with a supermodel wife who was like around a lot of beautiful women. And the last time that happened was with the Republicans during Reagan. Like there was like a cult. People wanted to be this guy. People want to be Donald Trump. Everyone people look up to Trump as like someone they want to model their life after, and that's somehow that's how a good portion of young voters decided that they were going to vote for Trump.
But I want to back north real quick though. Number one, I think Trumpism is held together by duct tape right now. I think that there's two bases within the techno-feudalist category. I think there's two bases within the immigration category. I think there's two bases within like the economics category. And so as a result, when Trump goes, if JD Vance is the successor, he's going to try to skinwalk Trump's talking points, but he's going to be more of a technocrat. And so I actually feel like the Democrats, Trump didn't like win the last two elections that he won. The Democrats lost it. And that's because Hillary Clinton is uniquely uncharismatic. And then Joe Biden was recovering from an anemic economy. So if you actually have a charismatic, young, interesting, cool, rhetorically gifted person, I actually think the Democrats have a strong chance of winning in 28.
Yeah, I think that hold on. All right, sorry. Go ahead with your thoughts.
JD Vance killed Trump. JD Vance killed Trump for when he dies. Like JD Vance did it for Peter Thiel.
It's a body double.
Absolutely.
To install the Antichrist. Yeah, that's the story.
First it was the Pope. Now it's Trump.
I think you can't underestimate the impact that the Republican Party has had for a long time. Like they've done a special job at attacking and fighting with the Democratic establishment. Like it didn't just start now with Trump.
Yeah, Tea Party was unprecedented.
It was Gore sacrificing the election for no reason. It was losing a Supreme Court pick to the Republican Senate to McConnell. This has been in the works for a long time. It was the Ken Starr fishing expedition to find Monica Lewinsky and a civil testimony deposition from Bill Clinton. Like they've been working on these people for a long time. To say that Hillary Clinton was, uniquely unqualified compared to Donald Trump is probably the biggest argument in favor of DEI that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Not unqualified.
Kamala Harris.
Not unqualified, uncharismatic.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, you can say that. I guess it just depends on what you've been prepared for. Like for Republicans, if you've been consuming like literal diarrhea your entire life, if your idea of like a well put together speaker is Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity or Michael Savage, then of course Donald Trump, the guy who says you're fired, might come off as like an intellectual or charismatic guy to you. And I mean, like he is like kind of funny, but so is the dude who sells drugs outside the gas station, outside the 7-Eleven in my apartment. But I wouldn't want the guy as fucking president. It takes a special kind of preparation to create a group of people dumb enough to accept the guy who makes some funny jokes as the leader of the free world twice.
You don't need to be funnier than everyone in the country. You need to be funnier than the person that you're running against.
To piggyback off of what like Destiny said, in like we need do we put like a career politician? I think we do, but like a lot of people don't like career politicians.
Yeah, but they say that, but they only know they don't like them because that's what they like, whatever they're told to like. That's another uncomfortable thing. Nobody wants to say the vote. That's the case. Like people will say that they have feelings about a thing, but they don't. They don't feel any way about fucking anything. Remember, what did we elect Donald Trump on for the economy? And now he's fucking raping it with tariffs. And what did we elect Donald Trump on for no new wars? And now we're about to rename the DOD to the Department of fucking War. Whereas like the same people who were like, no wars, no wars, no wars. Like it was like an actual 1984 moment, switching their hats out to celebrate that we bombed Iran. Like there's no consistency whatsoever. So to try to analyze this from some policy perspective, I think it's a lost cause.
Yeah, Trump could have easily run on, I've been in politics for 30 years because he has been, and said, this actually gives me a much better insight because I've been trying in campaigns, I know what works, and then everyone would have voted for him anyway. It has nothing to do with him saying, I'm not establishment.
A billionaire real estate mogul from New York who was already president for 4 years is president again with his whole cabinet, and they're still talking about the deep state. How deep does it go?
Hey, Destiny, do you think that...
Okay, hold on. All right. Actually, now for real, let's chill for a second. We're coming up on 2 hours. We're going to start winding down. All right? And also, we are completely afield of the original topic, but it was interesting, so, I let it go. And before I go around, so what I'll do in a second, I'm going to go around and I will ask people, they can shout themselves out and give, like, their final thoughts on the initial topic or anything that we talked about. I'm in, and also for people who are watching this now or thereafter, and you feel like, oh, there's a lot of people who generally agreed on a lot of stuff on the initial topic on the panel. I tried. If people want to come on these panels in the future, or if you want to see other perspectives, I'm trying to keep this pretty flexible and open so that more people can be able to come on. So that's I'm putting it a little bit on you, but I'm trying. And then also just in the nature of panels, because this came up earlier, I want to say this, even though there was some interesting conversations, some interesting back and forth. Like there were some things that I thought were entertaining. So thank you all for that. And thank you for making it entertaining. I think that these panels are also very important because it's how smaller creators are able to get seen. Like we have 5 small creators here: Vincent, Corbin, North, She's Right, and No Echo Chambers. It's probably the first time many of you have been on a panel at all.
Yeah,
these are
this is my first panel, scheduled panel. That is
first one too. Hope I didn't do too bad.
I've been on a few.
You're fantastic. All right. So I think that these are important for that, and you're able to connect with larger creators, and also and they can be fun, and hopefully they'll be more fun in the future. But I generally enjoy them, and I think that they're a cool thing about the online political space. Okay, so now with that said, I will go around and I'll start from I'll do a reverse order that I did for introductions at the beginning. So No Echo Chambers. Final thoughts and shout out your socials if you want to.
Okay, yeah, No Echo Chambers on YouTube and on TikTok, and No Echo YT on X, which is Twitter. I still call it Twitter. X is a horrible name. The reason I was on here is because I wanted to get to meet some new people tonight. And if any of you guys want to work on some content or get interviewed, I do interview content. I interview content creators in the political space and politicians and aspiring politicians. Definitely check out my channel. I'll try to see if I can get as much people as I can, as much interviews as I can. If you want to tell your story, I'm a great platform to do it. I'm willing to talk to anybody about anything, and I would love to be on another panel like this again too.
All right, guys, I'm going to call Kilo right after I hang up here, which will be very soon. And I'll actually get to talk about what I came here to talk about 2 hours ago. I'm really excited.
We have some disagreements on some issues. You have no idea who I am. And neither do any of you guys. I know if you guys want to debate or talk about anything, or get interviewed, hit me up. I'll interview you guys and tell your story.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about this. Now you're known. Congratulations. All right, She's Right. Go ahead.
Are we all obligated to do a clout chasing shout out to Destiny directly? It's just
you can do whatever you want.
Half of you all through this. I'll give a fuck. Donate to stjude.org because fuck cancer, real and online. If you go to she'sright.com, I sell a cool hat.
Thank you. North, go ahead.
Yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel. I'll be live streaming after this if I'll be doing call-ins, or if anyone wants to talk with me about whatever we were talking about before, add me on Discord and we can go do a call after this debate panel. You can find me on X at That Guy's North. I give pretty cringe opinions online, but they're fun. And then I gotta go take a piss. So next person, I suggest you go.
All right, sounds good. Corbin, go ahead.
Yeah, I do center left political stuff. I guess you can check out my channel. Almost 200 subs, so I'm getting clouded up, bitch. You can, in terms of content, you can check out a big IRL interview I just did with Riley, Connor, Dylan was there as well. Check that out, or you can check out my IRL Pang Burn debate with Destiny if he even remembers that, because but no, just check my stuff out. Thanks for having me. And in terms of conclusion of the general topics, yeah, the liberal left, not the socialist left, needs to do better at getting our shit together. We need to build a better coalition, kind of plant our feet a little bit firmer into the ground, and messaging wise, make people understand we're the core of this party. Either you're on board with our stuff or you can get the fuck off.
Cool. Vincent, go ahead.
Hello. I just want to say I think Democrats should definitely take money. When Republicans are taking money literally from Russia with Tenet, I think it's definitely fair for Democrats to take money. And my socials are, as I said before, Real Visigoths on everywhere. And thank you for having me.
Yep. Wick, go ahead.
Yeah, Wick from Wick TV. You know what? I like being on panels a lot, and I usually host them, so it's nice to be able to, be on one. So yeah, if you guys want to invite me to panels, I'd be happy to join you. I'll say this at the end. I think that we need, and I said this during the panel, but it bears repeating. Liberals just need to be proud to be liberals again, and we need to stand firm our principles. We answer the question. We are the solution to the problem. We answer the question, how do we live with each other when we have such divergent opinions, divergent ideologies? A liberal foundation and a liberal order is the best solution we have that will allow for human flourishing in a way no other ideology, not leftism, not socialism, not any kind of ism, right, does. Liberalism is where it's at. It is the end of history. If you like what I say, you can come to my channel. We are doing a Thursday chorus debate, right, that I set up before all this, right, with Soy Pill, with Hutch, and they're going to be fighting Prime Kai and Fabian Liberty and another guy, and that should be fun. Tune in. Thanks for having me, RGR. It was really fun, and I'd love to be on this again. Bye.
No problem, Wick. Thank you for joining us. Jola.
My channel is Jola Politics, JOLAH Politics. I typically take call-ins from MAGA using an actual phone number on YouTube Shorts. So think of like Dean on TikTok, but with actual life experience. And I had a very traumatic childhood, so I had to grow up earlier. So I'm 25, but I'm also plus 10. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm used to talking to MAGA, so that's what I usually do. I used to be a reaction YouTuber, but that shit's cringe. I don't want to be the vanguard, although I do want their money. And I am jealous of their clout and money that they get from doing their bullshit. But yeah, I really appreciate this panel. Thank you for having me on. I'm sorry if I jumped the gun switching the topics like that. I thought it'd be fun since we were a little bit stagnant at that point. But yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be on again. And anyone that wants to connect, definitely feel free to reach out. I love the conversation on the far left becoming more realistic and pragmatic, and also the center becoming a little bit more populist framed to make sure we can get those low propensity voters. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I added all of you guys on Discord, by the way, as friends. I sent a friend request to everybody here. So
Cool. Anne, go ahead.
Sure. Like I said at the beginning, my name is Anne. I go by Leftist Blondie on most social media platforms, on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I also have a YouTube. It'll be in any of my link trees and my bios. Final thoughts on this. I think it was a good panel. I think it was a little overcrowded. If you guys want to invite me back to smaller panels, I'd love that. And I'm willing to talk with anybody on here. Just send me a DM or a friend request. I think that leftists need to all be like me and suck it up and work with liberals and realize they're friends, not food. Other than that, yeah, make leftist content. If you donate to the Act Blue link in my bio, I might send you my bathwater. So.
Okay, Connor, go ahead.
I don't know how I can follow that. So, anyways, in summary, I think what I took away from Steven's perspective, which I think is an actionable item, is that when you see leftists do cringe stuff that doesn't seem productive for the party, you say, they're not part of our party. They're not part of our coalition. They have horseshoed so far that they're more useful to the right than they are to the left. But when it comes to the audience members, you reach out to the audience members as good faith as you possibly can, so you convert as many of them into incrementalism, harm reduction, coalition building, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing that I would say is that as a never Trump Republican, somebody who has probably more sexually, socially, economically conservative views than almost everybody else except for North here, I don't think you guys can do it. You guys are shit shows, you're pussies, you're liberals, you're weak, you can't do anything. So no balls. I want you to prove me wrong. So please prove me wrong by being productive and focusing on goals and attacking them aggressively. If you want to check my stuff out, check out Counterpoints 40K. Counterpoints Common Spelling 40K. That's my Warhammer channel. If you like what I said in reference to politics, check out Counterpoints Politics. Also check out Valor Media Network, VALOR Media Common Spelling Network Common Spelling. I parasocially love you, and thank you for having me.
Ouch. Hurtful, Connor, but lovingly. Appreciate it.
Yes.
The Soy Pill, go ahead.
Connor, if you want to look more strong and also get a better Judar, talk to me later. I can help you with both of those things. If any dark money groups are listening, my email is thesoypill@gmail.com. Please reach out. I want more money. Overall, if you want to give money to something else, I have a Cars for Ukraine fundraiser if you want to help fight back against Russia, and also a Working with the Unfuck America tour that Z is organizing. So both of those links are in my description. And I happen to find someone who actually wants to argue for the article, which I will be doing in 2 minutes. So check that out if you're interested. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And Z, actually, that's a great transition. Shout yourself out. Outro, thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, so social media is all Z to the Hill. You can catch me right now on Twitter. Please follow me, arguing directly with Taylor Lorenz, who's too pussy to be on this panel, but she'll quote tweet people with 3,000 followers. That's great use of productive time. And shout out to Destiny's Chat, DGGP. They are awesome volunteers. And please donate to us at unfuckamericatour.com.
Awesome. And that just leaves Steven. People know who you are, but you have your, do your outro, your thoughts. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think we should cast aside the socialists and communists and be strong liberals. I also think we should make better choices with our sci-fi universes. I don't know why people fixate so much on the Warhammer 40k universe. It's just a giant franchise made to sell toys. Every game is fixated around humans, which are the most boring people. Imperium of Man is bad. We get it. Wow, it's like so one-dimensional. Like, pick a real franchise like Halo or StarCraft.
Halo?
True.
Amazing. Well, hey, thank you all so much for being here.
We'll discuss this
you
later.
All. Yeah. And if you want to participate in the next panel, which is likely going to be on whether or not Trump is physically and mentally fit to continue serving as president, you can join the Discord. This is being held in at Linktree/Riley Grace Rochong. Do it. If you want more disagreement, if you want to argue with some of these fine people on here, many of whom have already expressed interest in being on that panel, fucking join. Fucking DM me. Do it. Yeah, and that's it. All right. Good night, everybody.
All right, guys, I'm going to call Kilo now so we can have a conversation about this gosh dang thing. That was all right, though. I was entertained. I just wish we were actually talking about the article. That's what I wanted to do. Thanks for tuning in, too. I appreciate you all sticking with me. I hope that was entertaining. Now, Kilo better answer. Kilo, you here, buddy?
I am. I'm kind of like getting situated, so maybe.
Take your time. No worries. Thank you so much for agreeing to be like the pro article person, because I swear to God, I was like, wow, there's a lot of people here. I guess it'll be a shit show of, 6 people yelling at 6 people, and then every single person was absolutely totally okay with the article, I guess, or not okay with it. So that was very disappointing. I read a lot. So take your time, get situated, pull up your notes. We're ready for you. I just appreciate, by the way, guys, Kilo reached out to me after a little Twitter spat I had, and was very respectful and gave me time and had an interesting conversation. So I'm happy right now. Can I spin the hat? Absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't realize that was going to be
a circle jerk.
Well, I had a feeling there would be like more, but I didn't realize it would be like all 14 unanimously. And
yeah, I'm very disappointed. I don't blame the booker, but I just wish more of these, like, the Vanguard are like, this is the most insane thing ever. Okay, do you want to talk about it? No, give me $1,000. It's like, fucking come on, talk about it. Jesus.
So I will say, like, just off the bat, I guess, like part of the reason why I think that it's important to maybe push back on some of the people who are saying like kind of crazy things about, which, by the way, I'm not like a Taylor Lorenz fan. I think she gets shit wrong all the time.
I only know her because I was arguing with her about COVID policy, but now she's friendly to me and I don't want to burn the bridge. I like chatting her up, getting her 2 cents every once in a while. So
sure, I think she's been proven incorrect about some of her reporting before, but it's just it's funny to me that the immediate gut reaction to this article is like the same thing. Like, because Taylor wrote it, it must necessary. Honestly, that was kind of my reaction, was like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is, when I see Pac-Man like super aggressively like denying all of the claims and saying it's fully debunked and all this stuff. I guess I have a gut tendency to be willing to accept that and say that, yeah, Taylor's gotten stuff wrong in the past.
I think the implication is pretty debunked, is the point, not necessarily the claim, because it's not like she's straight up lying with the factual claims. But real quick before we get into it, can you tell people who you are? And I know you made a video on Progressive Victory as a dark money funding thing, which I had issues with. Regardless, if you want to shout that out, and like people can check you out before or after this.
Sure. I don't know that this will be appealing to the people that watch you. My name is Kilo. I have a small YouTube channel. I just do like super occasional video essays. they're mostly drama related.
Mhm.
I did make a video about Progressive Victory like a year ago before it was super widely known in the space, I think. Kind of the deal that was going on with all that.
I'm going to throw that in the description for everyone right now.
I appreciate it. I'm not super proud of that video now. I
Yeah,
think
everyone
I would
go
probably,
downvote it
but
and say that he's dumb in the comments.
I'm gonna private that actually.
No.
No, I just there were I think that there's some things that I probably and we talked a little bit about it earlier, which is that it's kind of related to the chorus thing. Is that you have to be careful with, and I learned this through the PV stuff, was you have to be careful with the way that you present this information because people will take it to mean, when you have an implication of inauthenticity, people are going to take it personally because all these
Yes.
people probably do genuinely care about politics, right?
Mhm.
So, and that I will agree with that. The framing, the subheader of the article, the first couple of paragraphs, I think it's very, very easy to be given an impression that she is saying that they are bought and paid for shills, basically.
Yes, and that is like what my biggest issue with this is, not necessarily that you can have problems, because like when I DM'd her on Twitter, I even texted her about some of this. When she says to me is like, hey, it's okay if you join this group. Hey, it's okay if like Democrats want to fund Democratic voices, just disclose it. That seems to be her major contention. Now, whether or not that's a Mott and Bailey or if it's her backpedaling, doesn't matter. The point is, like, if that was the only thing that people were taking away from the article, I would say, okay, fair enough. I think more people should disclose things regardless of who is funding them. But it seems like the narrative, like FD Signifier was in chat at the very beginning. A lot of people I've talked to, Majority Report, you heard it on there. Vanguard, you heard it on there. They're saying Democrats are making people bought and paid for, controlling their language, making them toe the party line. They're crafting this inauthentic sphere of influencers that don't really like say anything that is authentic at all. They're all just, shills. And that is what I want to push back on, because I don't think that is true at all. But what would you say is the most then defensible through line of this article that is a problem that we need to talk about?
A is that I don't think there's any explicit accusation of them being bought and paid for. I think it is all implicit and subtle and indirect.
Would you consider that misleading, though? Because if that's what people take away, it's a reasonable takeaway given the way this is framed. Like, for example, any criticism, they'll get kicked out, where we've seen that not to be true. But it's implied, like, oh, if you said the wrong thing, you'd get kicked out, which, to be fair, that's true of any job. But the implication here is if you said anything like about Gaza or Israel, like that's what people are running away with, right?
Well, isn't there language in the contract about something about making statements about Chorus's policy agenda? What does that mean?
So I'm not quite sure. I know that the Heidi, or it was Ali O'Brien. Have you seen her TikTok on this?
Yeah.
Right. So, like, for example, did I copy paste this?
So I'll just you probably have more comprehensive notes than I do. I actually don't really have. I have the article up, but I didn't really I'm not intimately familiar with all of the individual refutations that have come out and all this kind of stuff. But to my understanding,
the one that I saw was creators in the program must fund. This is word for word what she says in the article. Creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. Now, when I saw the contract in Hallie's video, what it says is, if you're going to book candidates using the Chorus newsroom, by the way, I didn't copy paste this, so this is not verbatim because it was a screenshot. If you're booking them through their tool, obviously it has to be approved by Chorus. So Chorus is not going to be sending you, connections with politicians that aren't part of their like little newsroom tool. However, if you're going outside of that, which Ali showed screenshots of, she reached out to the Zoran team. I think there was a few others. It just says disclose any personal engagements, not to funnel them through the newsroom booking. You don't need to go through Chorus to talk to these people. It's like, hey, if you're part of our cohort and you're going to go talk to this politician, let us know. And I think that's completely reasonable.
Sure. This is why I said that some of this was going to be semantic, because it feels like people are taking issue with the word fund. So I have two contentions. One is that I don't know if Taylor's referring to a previous version, like an outdated version of this contract, because
that's
seems
the
like
issue. Yeah, we don't know what she is referring to. It says Wired confirmed. Wired confirmed. It's like we don't see what she's seen. And I think that,
Yeah, it says according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel blah, blah, blah. I don't actually know if it's untrue that a prior version of the contract did contain that language. Because it sounds like, a solid portion of the beginning part of the article is talking about how there were some concerns about how this was structured on the part of the creators. And when they gave pushback, they restructured the contracts in some ways.
That might be true. I thought that they were asking to redline it, and it seems like at this little story, this blurb she tells at the beginning. By the way, everyone, the article's in the description. I'm not going to show it on screen right now. But the blurb in the beginning says the story of all these people who had issues with this contract, discussing whether or not they could get any pushback, and ultimately saying it seems like this is a take it or leave it thing. And some people got it and some people didn't, and they weren't able to change much. But did you get some other impression that they did change? Some things were changed? Because the one thing I know that was changed is that now on the website, and I couldn't find an instance of this using the Wayback Machine before Taylor Lorenz's article, now on the website it says, we give a stipend to creators. And it might not have said that anywhere before. I know that creators said they worked with Chorus. I know they might have mentioned they were paid, but it wasn't like officially stated on the Chorus website, as far as I can tell, before her article, and they changed that.
Right. But also the way that she presents that does make it sound like there was... Okay, do you think it's possible that there was an early version of this contract that Wired has access to that's different from the ones that like Ali would be showing on her?
Yes, that's completely possible. And if something came out that said, like, my opinion on this would 100% change. If that's the thing. It's contingent on the fact of if there's an article or the article source is a contract that says you have to say these things. If you don't, we will immediately kick you out. Okay, then the way that this is being framed and people are attacking Chorus for this is 100% legitimate. I have seen zero evidence of this, though.
See, I already like, why are you saying that? So first of all, there's different issues related to just the transparency and the disclosure and stuff like that in the first place. Whether or not people were being told what to say, I don't think that Taylor makes that assertion in the article.
That is right, but that is the implication people are walking away with. Even if she doesn't specifically say that, like which she says, creators in the program are not allowed to use any funds or resources they will receive as part of the program to make content that supports or opposes any political candidate or campaign without express authorization from Chorus in advance and in writing per the contract. I have not seen evidence of this. I don't think it's been proved. That's the point. If you saw the, like I said, what Ali says, you can say this isn't a refutation if this is a new contract. But what I see in her claim here is, oh, they're saying, hey, run things through us if you're specifically using our funds to talk about these things. And also, like, not you have to adhere to these talking points.
Those are the same thing. What you
running things through them. It's not saying you have to do it. You don't need express written approval, but it's just give us notice. That's it. That's a completely different thing. I think that's a completely different thing.
Oh, dude. Why? Okay, so why would they need to be given notice if you're going to use the funding that they provide you, the stipends or whatever?
If the express mission of a group is to promote some sort of message or prop up some tent pole of politicians, and we give you money and say, hey, do whatever you want with this, but just so you know, if you're like going and making a whole video with this money, just let us know what you're doing. And it's like, hey, I'm a Republican now. I'm making a pro-Trump video. They want to know about that so they can be like, all right, well, you're not part of our mission anymore, which is very different from you have to make content on this, or we're saying you can't make Trump things, but hey, let us know because we want a discretion as to what is happening with the money that we're giving you. I think that's a kind of different thing, no?
I would need to look at the specific language in the. I don't have Ali's like video up and to see how it's written. And again, it could be a dated form of the contract because.
Well, let's push that out for now because I don't know of any older contract that might have confirmed exactly what the Wired article is implying. If that's the case, like I said, I'll change my mind. But I haven't seen that, and I've only seen what these people have released.
Sure, but I am here saying that. Okay. I guess I might be having two different conversations with you because I'm saying that the people saying that this article contains outright lies or defamation or whatever, they don't actually have the evidence to be able to say that Taylor Lorenz or Wired is lying in this article, because it's possible that the contracts that Wired got a copy of, that these claims are coming directly from, are not the same as the contracts that the creators are showing on, like Ali are showing on stream to refute Taylor's claims. So
if the copies are different, you're saying they could, or that they both could be true.
Well, they both could be true because one could be an older version.
Well, here's an outright lie. Okay, this is verbatim. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, if the contract is different, this is different. But let's say it's the same contract. Or no, actually, no, we don't even need to see the contract because this has been refuted. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, the creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund, or functionally that they're being paid at all. And several creators have come out and shown videos and disclosures of them working with Chorus and being paid with Chorus between between like 2024 last year and now. So that's just not true. Like factually, like there were people saying they worked with Chorus. Obviously their faces all over the website. So that part of it's not true. And so unless this is a very specific wording that's saying like, hey, it's in the contract because of some legalese, but people still did it. Okay, I guess, but like the implication of this
I
is
don't think that's the claim.
this
no.
is secret dark money. No, this is the implication of this is secret dark money. All these people are like, oh, we can't talk about Chorus at all, which is not the case. Like clearly Brian Tyler Cohen was talking about it, David Pakman talked about it, Ali talked about it, a bunch of these creators have their face plastered all over it. People were talking about Chorus and what they did. Whether or not there were some things they weren't allowed to talk about could be true, but the implication of that sentence is not borne out, I think, in the reality of this.
Sorry, I'm looking for a specific. You said it was.
Yeah, here. Let me highlight one more time. So just Control F, according to copies of the contract, or actually Control F, not allowed to disclose.
I got it. Okay, when is the earliest? Do you happen to know, based on the things that you've seen, when the earliest
disclosure
any
was?
Version of the. No. Just when these contracts started getting tossed around, like when.
I want to say November 2024. I don't remember because this was the first cohort, and it was 6 months. I want to say.
Okay, so it is possible if creators have been disclosing since what, January of this year, if there are some instances of creators stating that they're involved with Chorus to some capacity, if that's the earliest that we have of that, there could have been preceding versions of the contract that did contain language restricting them being able to disclose that they were part of Chorus. It says according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired. So
Okay,
it's not
wait.
saying according to all of the contracts.
I could be wrong about this. My understanding is there's only been one cohort so far. We've seen the one contract. I don't think there are other versions of the contract. And I'm going to concede, obviously, if there's a different contract that has more explicit language that did like have this top-down language that controlled them, I would agree with you. I have yet to see any evidence of this. All I have seen is people from the first cohort, which I think is the only one, showing pieces of their contract that show that this is not true. Now, I can't argue with the, well, maybe there's a different contract. I haven't even seen Taylor say that's not the same contract. Maybe, but I guess it's kind of pointless to speculate on that because I don't even know if that's, if it is true, it could be true. And I agree if that's what it said, but we don't have that contract. We only have what the people are releasing. And I think that's maybe the only contract. Maybe that was redlined. I don't know.
I don't know, but there's multiple instances in the article where they're talking about how some creators had some issues or some contentions or reservations with some of the language that was in the contract.
Mm-hmm.
In one case, it seems like they didn't feel like they had a good chance of any of their changes that they wanted being adopted.
Right, and they said no, right?
Yeah, and they said no, but I don't know what those conversations looked like in November or December before contracts actually started getting offered. And it was less than a year ago. The idea that there was a prior version of the contract that someone still had a copy of or something that did contain language like this. I don't know why Wired would say. Wired is I mean, I don't think they're like a total like fraudulent publication. I think
so. The only bad thing I know about Wired is that a guy I talked to, David Karpf, journalist, said they wrote kind of like a pretty inaccurate hit piece on him. But he could also be biased against that. Obviously, it's about him. I don't know to the extent. I never go to Wired for like my news. I go to like Reuters and AP. I'm not trying to discredit or say that Wired was perfect up until this point. I actually do know the founders of Wired because I played soccer with their son, but I have no idea if they're a reputable news source.
Oh, you're so cool.
No, I'm just saying I know their parents. Like I know the parents.
So my point is I don't know why Wired would say this so explicitly. According to copies of the contract, influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund. I don't know why it would be written in that explicit language if there's absolutely nothing in the current contract that Ali like showed a copy of or whatever that says anything close to that.
I think so what Ali showed in the contract, but there was some points of, hey, if you're going to talk about Chorus specifically, or based on the Wilson testimony in the Zoom call, that there are talking points of guidelines of like, hey, here's how you probably should talk about it. We'd prefer if you disclose it this way. And there's probably indications in that contract, but from what I remember of how and why you should disclose this. Because like, you know, no one's putting like the disclaimer on every single video, especially if their videos aren't directly dictated from Chorus. But if you want to talk about like, hey, go fundraise for Chorus, which a bunch of these people I think were doing, or you kind of talk about the same thing with Progressive Victory, even if Progressive Victory didn't dictate you to make this video, you like what they're doing and they're helping you out, you might be throwing these links into the descriptions. I don't know to what degree they have guidelines on that, but that's far and away different from what the implication of a lot of people are getting, which is do not tell anyone about this or we will kick you out, which I think is not the case. And if there's a contract that shows that, maybe, but that's what I'm like, give me the evidence of that. I don't think this article shows that. Obviously it doesn't have the source, but it definitely implies it, and that is what people are walking away from, which is my issue.
Well, okay. Overall, I wouldn't reject the notion that this article is framed in a somewhat like misleading way. I would say, like, yeah, I think there's some kind of just media sensationalization. I think that a little bit of the language is hyperbolic and it's meant to sound like a little bit more dramatic. But
yeah, like the title and that you already mentioned, the title, the subheading, and even like the little image of here, I'll bring this up for people.
But I think
you're not gonna turn your camera on. Yeah.
I think that the thing that you're supposed to take away from it is that, well, first of all, I think that the dark money thing itself, like, it just, I was talking to you a little bit about this earlier, but it seems like the conversation becomes so much about like whether people are told, what to say, or whether people are, their content is changing necessarily, or they're supporting specific creators, stuff like that. To me, that's just like not, obviously, again, some of the language does carry that implication with it. But when I read the article, I just took away from it that, oh, it's a dark money group, and there's no, first of all, there's no requirement for disclosure, which in my opinion there should be, but you and I might disagree on that.
No, I think we might agree on that, actually. Like if it's like, hey, you should say, I think we talked about this in the panel just now, if you're getting more than $5,000 from someone, it's worth like putting it, like you should have a little spot in your channel like, hey, here are the people I work with that help me out financially. You don't have to say how much it is, you don't have to say it every video, but you should probably let people know. I agree with that. Taylor agrees with that for sure. Obviously.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's reasonable. I think it should at least be probably in your bio of your channel and in like video descriptions. Maybe.
Well, one thing you said in your video that I didn't want to bring this up to Connor because it wasn't the point of the thing, but you mentioned that Connor had accused this creator called them out for being a gross person because they admittedly watched Loli. Then later it came out that Vosh also did this, and he it seemed like, based on the way you portrayed it in this video, changed his opinion on this, probably because Vosh is a bigger person in Progressive Victory, and both of them are paid at some point by Progressive Victory. And what I wanted to say about that is, I think that is one of the most valid concerns, I think, in your video, because even if he didn't change his opinion, like maybe he rethought it or is like, oh, well, maybe it's not worth throwing this person under the bus, it's important to know that this money, no matter how big you are, could affect how you report on things. And that's why it's important to disclose, because if it seems like you might be being inauthentic on a certain topic and you think, oh, is this anything to do with this? People are allowed to then ask you, is this because of the PV money? Is this because you work with Vosh? I think that's very fair. But do you think he changed his opinion on that? That's the thesis
of my video. That just be clear, that is the thesis of the video, what you just described.
So can you summarize it then one more time? Because we might agree then on the thesis at the very least.
Well, everything you just said, I agree with.
Okay, and so yeah, people who are paid money by any of these orgs should disclose it, or at the very least, it should be known by anyone, because they could feel some sort of pressure to not be as authentic with their opinions if they were going to lose that money. Yes?
Right. So if I didn't know that Connor and Vosh specifically were paid by PV, and I saw him issue this, condemnation of the food shop person, and then later I saw him do the opposite thing with Vosh, and then later I found out that he was paid by the same organization that pays Vosh, and they work together at canvassing events or something like that.
That would
obviously
shady,
make me So those situations, now that's pretty like as clear as it gets. That's like the most blatant form of like a conflict of interest.
Before we move on from that real quick though, also let's say they weren't both paid by that org. Isn't it very possible that Connor understands how much bigger of a platform Vosh has and is just like less likely to call him out, period, or rethink his position on, burning someone completely because, one, he understands, hey, there's still someone to gain from this person. They do stuff in this situations that helps people. And also, I want to still have connections to this person. So like it might not have to do with the money at all.
Well, no. And in any conflict of interest, the choices that people make after the conflict of interest is made known may not necessarily have to do with the money. The point is informing the party that it concerns, informing like your boss if you have another job or something like that, so that when things come up, they're able to make that determination on their own. Your boss is able to determine if, you know, your other job is affected.
Right. So just let your audience know that like maybe this is because of clout, maybe this is because of money, but at least we have all the information and we can decide whether or not to treat you as authentic based on that
at least
information.
I'm able to determine how I feel about counterpoints based on that. If he doesn't give me that information, I can't make that determination based on, you know, the facts of the matter, right?
So and I'll say this now because I took some money from Progressive Victory because they were like, hey, we like what you're doing. We like your, like it was funny. I was going to make a video on Curtis Yarvin. They're like, hey, do you want to talk about Curtis Yarvin? Like we're doing a whole like campaign on these tech oligarchs. And I was like, oh, perfect timing. And then I said, hey, I'm going to be on the road because you guys reached out to me and said, do you want to go with Rokana and meet up with his team? But I can't edit. They're like, hey, do you need a better laptop? We can help you pay for a little bit of it. And they did that for me. And that was amazing. I was really appreciative of that. But I might not have mentioned that anywhere other than a stream, which, no offense to my audience, this is much smaller than the views I got on videos. I love you guys so much. I like that we have a small little chat here, but it you know, it's a 10th or a 100th of the size. So most of the people who watch my stuff never saw that. And at a certain point, maybe I have some conflict of interest with a PV person, with someone in PV, then what, right? Like, what would be my responsibility? Did I do something unethical because I didn't announce to everyone that I got some money from PV at a certain point? It's not even consistent money.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think, yeah, going into the specifics kind of makes things a little bit like autistic, but like, obviously I think there are different thresholds. Like there were some creators who are kind of like adjacent to or loosely associated with the space who it became known that they were working with PV back when all this stuff initially came out, but they were in more like administrative roles. They weren't really like talking about politics on stream all the time. I wouldn't necessarily have the same expectation of disclosure for those types of people as I would like somebody who fires up, you know, stream every single day and talks about, you know, the Biden admin or whatever.
Right.
So in your case, I mean, it's a one-time payment related to equipment for one project. That
they might start paying me more in the future. I don't know how that will work. I would obviously accept it. I would obviously let people know like, hey, PV's paying me. But also I have the advantage of I have jumped into this now after people get called out for it. And I probably would have done it anyway, but I could see a world where I'm like, look, different people want to pay me for this stuff. It doesn't affect my opinions. And I know that I don't want to muddy the waters by constantly disclosing, hey, PV pays me every month, or hey, Unfuck America, help me, you know, fly out here to do this thing. Like,
I understand that.
How much transparency, what's the limit is, I guess, what I'm asking.
I think people had that concern at the time that they're sort of like stonewashing their messaging by like overdoing it, like oversaturating their disclosures, basically. But like, I don't necessarily think that it's the same to say, like, if you, for instance, put in the description of that video or said, hey, you know, Progressive Victory was kind enough to help me with some of the equipment I needed for this video, somewhere in that video for that one project, I think that's totally sufficient. Especially given that I assume that the project would, it was Curtis Yarvin, so it would have been of a political nature. So the people watching that video might want to know if there was some type of, you know, political entity involved in the production of that video. But
the thing is, I already had the idea to do it. And let's say I didn't, right? Let's say they were like, hey, we think this is a really hot topic. And that resonated with me. Obviously, I might feel some pressure if it was like, well, I could make my normal video. Like I was gonna, if neither of these things had happened, I would have made a video on the inconvenient truth, which is coming in a couple months now because that's my passion and I'm going to make that later. And these people say, hey, we'll give you some money to help you out. And also we think it's important to talk about this thing. And I see that I'm going to feel a little pressure to be like, hey, maybe I'm not as passionate, but you know, this is a financial incentive to do it. Now they didn't pay me to make a video, but they're saying like, this is what we think is worth talking about. Would you be willing to do this? That'd be cool. I can see some issues there insofar as that's like a little, not coercive, but there's pressure. But would that be bad? Like, would that, or would you just have to say at the end, like, hey, thanks, Progressive Victory helped me financially with this video or connected me with these people? And because that's what I did at the end.
Disclaimer at the bottom, at some point, like just something showing that you. So like the way I thought about it was like, how would your viewer feel? Because to me, this is kind of the way I make things more intuitive.
Yes.
And a little bit of it sounds kind of soy,
yeah. Pretend you're an audience. No, I get this. But pretend you're an audience member. What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, there's a difference between sitting on the couch watching CNN, which has commercials running and it has, you know, text at the bottom of the screen, and like I know that there's like giant corporations like funding this type of production versus sitting there watching you talking to your microphone and from your computer chair.
Yeah. And my dresser is covering my fucking stupid ass
with white fucking walls.
Yes.
And beige closet.
White wall, no decoration, beige closet. Yeah. This guy's authentic. This guy's down in the dirt. This guy's not getting paid.
Well, and the people watching you, right, and the people in the chat right now are people who give you super chats. They might exclusively be spending time with you or giving you chats or whatever because they find that type of content refreshing. They find it
Yes.
refreshing to hear somebody who's just giving their own opinion. They're unsullied by sponsorship. You know, having a debate with somebody else, maybe you're going on a panel with somebody else who's doing the same thing. And so, being that that is kind of the inherent value of like streaming and online politics as a form of alternative media, I think you are necessarily compromising like the integrity of that value when if you did have like some type of, I use the term sponsorship and a lot of people reject that. It is, I just, there's not really a better word for it. It is.
Well, I know
type
you
of
mean, but it is
sponsorship.
different, right? Because like I have
Yeah.
sponsors in my videos. I have to click the paid for button. I have a commercial in the middle of a video. That's much different than someone's paying me to do this, right? Like obviously Patreon is someone paying me to do this. Super chats are someone paying me to do this. But now there are orgs that are getting funds from dark money groups sometimes that say, hey, we want to help creators make the stuff that they're already making, like Progressive Victory, like Unfuck, oh, I don't know if Unfuck America pays people, but like Chorus. And that is in and of itself a sponsor that should probably be at least talked about to some degree, is what you're saying.
Yes, 100%. Now that is markedly different. The one-off situation is markedly different from somebody who is being paid thousands of dollars a month to attend a monthly meeting, talk about what the current issues that are important to their audience is, you know, talk about.
To be clear, I
content,
believe the way that this is framed, that these people that were getting, 8,000, like these six-figure almost salaries, are accelerators, which means David Pakman does not need trainings on how to make thumbnails and boost audience engagement. Brian Tyler Cohen does not need this on editing, but they go into these trainings and they lead them and they give suggestions to these smaller creators that are built from the ground up that are quitting their jobs for this, which I think is an amazing project. And I don't even know if they should disclose that because they're not doing anything political with that. They're not changing political opinions. They are taking money from a political action group that funds their incubator program that has apparently nothing to do with telling people politics. It's just, hey, here's how you drive engagement, form an LLC, expand your reach. Now, I think the partisan part is they're all going to be progressives and left wingers. So,
sure. And just intuitively, what is the interest of that organization in doing that?
Yeah, obviously it's funded by the super PAC dark money group of, hey, we want to spread more progressive message, a left-wing message, because
further progressive messaging.
Yeah, obviously they're not going to be funding right wingers. They're not funding Groypers. They're not funding Republicans. Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yes.
So I think that's fair to say, like, regardless of, like, to call it a partisan type thing or something like that.
Yeah, because they have to say, this is, Destiny said this in the panel, they have to say they're nonpartisan because they're a 501(c) or 4, I don't remember which, because that's just how the legal things works, but they have an agenda, just like most PACs do.
But that's why I don't like the response to the article being like, and I would have to look back at like Brian Tyler Cohen's response, for instance, or whatever.
Oh, and correcting, yeah,
seems like
he did it for free, by the way. He did not get paid. He volunteered, but go on, sorry.
BTC?
Yeah, BTC specifically. I think David Pakman might have gotten paid, so.
Okay, well, whoever it was that goes on is like, this is a nonpartisan, like, blah, blah, blah. I just don't feel like that should be a component of the response because while it may technically be true or like legally and officially be true, that's not the thing that people really care about, right? The thing that people care about is knowing where, the people they're watching specifically, people they might watch every fucking day to get maybe even to get some of their fucking talking points, the way they feel about these things from, knowing that they are being supported, right? Like financially kind of propped up in a way, by some type of larger like political body that they may or may not have been aware of.
So here's the other thing, and this might be like a manufacturing consent thing, right? Like people shit on the Oliviana girl because she said Alyssa Slotkin is one of the coolest Democrats, right? Like, did you see that? And it's like, okay, Alyssa Slotkin, progressives can shit on her all they want. I don't know enough about her to say, thumbs up or thumbs down. But what happens when you have these connections and you have these groups is that they'll introduce you to these people. Like, I would not know nearly so much about Ro Khanna or Jonathan Jackson's politics if I hadn't been on the trail with them for 4 or 5 days. And now I can say I'm like more positively towards them, not just because I spent time with them, but because I had a genuine connection with these people, one-on-one conversations, and I'm saying, oh, I like what you are doing. And I think that can happen. And the unfortunate thing is people, it seems like your take on this is very reasonable, which is people want authenticity. If they find out you're getting paid by a political action group, it seems less authentic, especially if you're anti, like Super PAC or whatever. But they also are saying, and you're not saying this now, I don't think you were saying it before, but it could be true that, hey, this is influencing your opinion in ways that you wouldn't have otherwise said. And that can happen, but I don't like that that is the takeaway, and I hope that's not. I think that's what the Wired article is pushing, and I think are you agreeing now that that is not what is happening here necessarily, or probably even?
Well, yeah, I agree that it's easy for people to take that away from the article because of the kind of subtle implications, and especially the opening and stuff that I talked about. Like, I agree, it kind of sets the reader up to, by the end of it, feel like that's what Taylor was saying.
Okay.
I think analyzing specifically and expressly just the words that she said in the article, I don't know that I can really say like any of it is lies. It seems like maybe there was some language in the contract that can be interpreted this way. When I was seeing Allie's video, I remember there being some things that she said was like a refutation. And I'm like, well, it depends, because again, there was like something in there about Chorus's policy agenda. I don't know what that means. Does Chorus have a policy agenda, or is it related to the policy of Chorus, the organization? Things like that. So
was there a policy agenda in Chorus in the article?
Well, there was something about discussion of Chorus's policy agenda needing to be run by Chorus first. Now, my charitable interpretation is probably that they were just talking about like the structure of the organization, like the policy of the organization internally. But because of the language of the contract, if Taylor's article kind of carries with like there's one point, I don't think she pointed that out necessarily, but if there was something in there where she's saying like there might have been some restrictions on what they can say, and if people took that away from it because of that language in the contract, I don't think that's like a lie necessarily. It's just like some parts of this contract are a little bit weird, right? So
I guess the problem is, and this, I'm not going to say this is a one-to-one comparison, is there are at any job there are restrictions on what you can say. I can't go around shouting slurs, right? And I could write an article about that and make it seem way more controlling and weird than what is a completely reasonable HR policy to have. And so it seems to me that this is being run away with, and Taylor specifically is someone who says, I hate the Democrats, I want to subvert them. So it's like, I think this is on purpose. I think this is a hit piece to make them look worse than they really are, to frame this as like some horrible, horrible thing that is happening. When in reality, it's like, yeah, I think more people should disclose if you're getting money. If, I'll say this, I don't use this as my primary source, but the DNC, like I said, this like their war room initiative, they're constantly, posting news updates. Here's what's happening. And if I only used that as what I wanted to talk about, that would completely change like my focus on things. Because I mean, this isn't like on purpose. They're not talking about Gaza, Israel stuff, not because they don't care, but it's just not like nothing new is happening.
It's not on the radar.
And also just children are dying and it's awful and there's nothing's happening. And like, I maybe they put out a point when the vote happened on the whether or not we send them arms, but it's like, it's not news, which is the most depressing thing ever. It's just every day. And so instead it's, hey, Trump is doing some gerrymandering thing in Texas, or Gavin Newsom thing, like, that still would frame what I'm presenting to my audience, but I don't think that's inauthentic. But I would probably want to say it. I would want to say, hey guys, this is where I get my news updates. I like that the Democrats are doing this and funneling these talking points down, which is cool.
Okay,
but that would absolutely give me like a very narrow frame of what I want to talk about, right?
Right. Okay, I don't disagree with anything you just said. But I think my issue, I didn't watch the full panel. It sounds like it was just a circle jerk.
It got off the article way too fast, and then it was just like, do we excise the left, which I so hate. I hate that conversation.
Well, so that's my question. Do you get tired of these conversations
Yes.
just consistently scapegoating like the far left in every, like, for all of our
I think that's
problems all
my
the time?
biggest disagreement with Wick, and definitely I probably have bigger disagreements with Destiny. But yeah, the idea that like the reason we lost is because we didn't excise the left enough. And it's like Kamala moved so far away from them, and that's the reason the left was angry about it. And I don't know, like, if she had gone on and just shit on socialists the whole time, like, she would have won. I don't buy into that. And I think it's a waste of time.
Well, it's not more out of numbers either. But
yes, I agree with that as well. But the problem is just so much is happening that hurts me, that is from the current administration. I kind of talked to you this on Twitter, and it's like, I do not want to waste too much of my breath shitting on the left right now. Like right now, me talking about this, I think is important because I want people on the left to say, hey, some of this might not be okay. I want people to disclose, but we need to do more of this, get people organized, put money in, get people to vote. Great, cool. I don't want to make a fucking Hassan Piker video. I don't give a fuck, okay? Like, worst case scenario, he is harming the party, whatever. Like, right now, there's a lot of bigger things happening right now that are fucking me over, and he was not the reason we lost the election, not even close. So it's just not worth it to me. Now, when Democrats get in power, and we're in control again, and we're getting the infighting in the primary, then we can talk about that. But it's just the idea that we need to excise them and that's the way we win over centrists. And it's like, I don't think this is borne out in the data. I don't think it's important. I think if anything, it's the opposite. We can probably win over more of these leftists with good policies and talking. Let's say you're farther left than me. I would guess you were saying, hey, yeah, we need to disclose more, but I think we should support.
Why did you say that? Why did you say I would guess you were?
I would just guess. I mean, because if you're anti-PV, I would guess you're slightly more progressive. I know there's like
anti-PV. You know.
Okay. Well, regardless, let's just say you were.
That might have been
I bet I
could. Of the thing I'm talking about, though, is what I'm saying.
I think we can work with people that are critical of this dark money stuff, even more than I am, and say, look, we can say this is bad, but guess what? Just like the gerrymandering thing, I hate gerrymandering, but we should use it to our advantage right now because it is a race to the bottom, but they're doing it, so we got to do something, and then call out the hypocrisy, advocate for an end to gerrymandering, and show that they will vote no against that, right?
Well,
and then in the same way, 1630 is, as part of Amy Kurtz or whatever her name is, like the executive of it, she says, I want campaign finance reform. I want to overturn Citizens United. I want transparency. So even the group that doesn't have full transparency is advocating for itself in the same way, like, you know, Bernie Sanders say, I'm a millionaire, tax the fuck out of me. It's like, cool. Like leftists, this seems to be an avenue of power that we could use to get the money out of politics. That's what I think.
Well, and I think it would be really cool, though, if that same group actually believed in the things that they were saying and said, like, for instance, I said back during the PV thing, if PV had any sort of policy agenda, which it doesn't seem like they did, but if they did, and part of it was like, we want to support, you know, campaigns or candidates who are specifically in favor of overturning Citizens United, that would be undermined by the fact that you are, you know, a symptom of Citizens United. So
why would it be? Like, if they're saying, look, we don't like that we can get funding from people that we don't know who they are, that don't have to disclose. However, those people give us tens of millions of dollars to eventually, you know, get that overturned and force them to disclose. But for now, we're going to take their money and say, yeah, we'll run with it. If you want to give us money to make it so that you do have to expose yourself, let's fucking do it. Like, I'm for that.
Sorry. There's two ingredients to it, right? So like obviously receiving the funding itself is one thing, and the structure allows for it, and people are going to take advantage of it. I agree with you there, because like, why the fuck would Newsom not gerrymander if there's nothing he can do about Texas? Like, if you have to fight fire with fire, I understand.
Yeah, and it pulls really well too, because people are like, finally the Democrats are doing something. Like, this is like the first indication of that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. The second ingredient, though, is what steps are you taking to try to minimize the like ethical the harm of the thing that people have a problem with in the first place? In the case of like PV or Chorus or whatever, there was no requirement for disclosure, and it sounds like you and I agree in that in this conversation anyway. It sounds like that might just be a good idea if you're principally against the how corruptive of a force money could be in our politics and how much of it there fucking is. And if you're against like the lack of transparency and stuff like that, why would you not take it upon yourself to be better? And when some people respond to the Chorus article, like I spoke briefly with Olivia Giuliani, and she said this. She said, I don't understand why, you know, you're coming after Democrats or blah 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 when, like, you know, the Trump. She said similar to the things you're saying now, except it wasn't as nuanced. And she's basically saying people should stop talking about this because we have, you know, the Trump admin to fight or something like that.
Well, in some ways, like that. Even though I agree, like we should have principles and hold ourselves. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, I don't like that there's a pretense to the idea that people should try to disclose as much as they can, or that these organizations should have disclosure requirements in them. I don't like there's a pretense that that's necessarily hurting your political efforts. I don't understand why. It seems like people do have that pretense. It like comes with their contentions with the article.
I think it's a little different. It's more of the fact that people are now attacking people that are advocating for some of the best things right now to fight against Trump. And what should happen is what I think we've come to the same conclusion on. People like you and me could say, hey, yeah, you could probably disclose this a little better, right? Like, It couldn't hurt. The problem is, I'm trying to put myself into one of these shoes. This hasn't happened to me yet, unfortunately. I haven't been paid a lot of money to do any sort of pick up, you know, get off the ground stuff. I want to. Let's say I was. All right, organizations help me out. They're not telling me what to do. They're not telling me what content to make. However, they're just giving me all these little tips. Essentially, I'm doing influencer training school, and I don't really want to tell people about that. Either it's embarrassing because I'm like, yeah, guys, I suck. I need to figure this out. Or it's just, you know, not something I'm comfortable sharing. Like, hey, I'm getting all this money from this thing. Like, I'm getting tutored in this thing. And it's not, as long as in my eyes, I'm like, well, I'm not being told what to do. I don't feel like disclosing it. And then all of a sudden someone comes and does a hit piece and says, you're part of a dark shadow campaign to be a shill for the Democratic Party. I'm going to push back and be like, first of all, no, I'm fucking not. Here's my contract. Second of all, is this really what we're like going to make the whole news cycle about? Like Donald Trump just like is blowing up Venezuela right now or whatever, right? Like I understand the
maybe
pushback
it's comforting to talk about something else.
Comforting, and also just like where are our priorities, right? We should I get it, but it's like how long should we take on this? Because this is like now dominating the news cycle. I'm going to do a debate with people who actually disagree with me on Thursday, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to push back on this, and then I want to shut the fuck up about it forever because it's like, yeah, maybe they should disclose, but I'm not going to like, for example, quit Lib and Learn because maybe as per your video, IRI or Hutch didn't disclose as early as they should with PV. Whatever, like they're doing what I want. Let's say they were full shills. They don't believe anything, and they just are pushing these points because of the money. Yeah, that's inauthentic. But whatever, like I want that power. I want this audience. Let's do it. Like,
Soypill, it's not inauthentic. It is unethical.
Well, it would be inauthentic if they were total shills. Just to be clear, like
well, it
that's
is
what I'm saying.
inauthentic, but that's sanitizing it. It's unethical, right? Because you're essentially lying to your viewers.
Yeah, if you were like, I'm independent media and this is all my ideas, yes, that would be unethical. I agree.
Well, that I think that without explicitly having it be stated otherwise, this as a form of alternative media streaming from your computer room or whatever, that is the assumption, right? The presumption is that it's like you're just an independent kind of like journalist, essentially. Not really a journalist, but kind of, right?
Right. And I guess the line can be drawn somewhere, but like if I never said anything about money and I just said, hey, I work for Progressive Victory, I like working with them, and then it came out that I was paid by them, would that be unethical?
Yeah, I had an issue with people doing that before because working with sounds like we're a partnership. All in the not to name names. Riverboat Jack did this, where she said I had disclosed many times, and then I went back and looked, and every single time she said it, she said I'm working with Progressive Victory on this upcoming event or something, and it doesn't. It sounds like you're just volunteering with a political organization for like a canvassing effort or something. It's not really what people are asking for, right? So, is it like this major transgression? No, I didn't hate these people at the time. I didn't like the way they responded to the criticism. Riverboat Jack banned me from her chat immediately for asking if she was paid by PV.
That's the thing. If you ask, if you're, I think it's fine to just be like, hey, I'm working with them, or even like if you want to go a little step further, that they help me out. They help me out. They connect me with people, and maybe you say something about financials.
That's even more a little bit pointing to like some.
Yeah. But then if you ask, and they say, I don't want to tell you, first of all, that's a yes. But if you ask and they say, you're banned for asking, yeah, then it steps over the line for me, absolutely, where it's like, yeah, if someone asks, if you thought it wasn't that pertinent because it doesn't really, change what you're saying, but then someone's like, hey, are you paid by these people? And you're like, ban. That's ridiculous. I don't think that's okay. So.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think I really have this like crazy expectation. I think at the time, like I went pretty hard at like Wick and counterpoints for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they were the main focus, which was wild to me, like seeing them as the focus of a video, and I'm like, not because you did anything wrong. It's just funny watching people like record Wick TV clips and then make it like the video essay format, which was very well edited. I'm like, this is so surreal to me. Like, but yeah.
It was really just because, unfortunately, and Wick and I, don't super get along. But like, it was just because they were the ones who came out publicly and talked about it the most. So if someone else had, But no, I mean, I think that yes, there might be bigger fish to fry. There might be things that it's more, prudent for Lib and Learn to spend their time talking about. Sure, that doesn't mean that they're, because. I don't know if you would call this like a principle of yours, but it sounds like we more or less agree on the underlying like value here, which is like transparency, especially when it comes to like a form of alternative media like this. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying like when this article comes out that probably should have been written differently, maybe should have been written by somebody differently. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking it and internalizing it and saying maybe this could be something that we could do better than the people that we stand in opposition to. Right?
Yep.
We could
100%
upon ourselves.
I agree with that, which is why I'm happy to say I've applied to Chorus because one, it seems like their mission is to make people disclose. They want to end dark money in the 1630 project, is from what I understand. Two, now more people are going to, at the very least, the best thing to come out of this is people are going to be more savvy in disclosing this. Just like you said, you pushed people to be more savvy about disclosing PV stuff. I think this is going to at least make people more transparent, because ultimately what matters is, I don't like that this is going to turn people that watch the Majority Report, that watch the Vanguard, that listen to Taylor Lorenz, away from people that make good content, that push them in good directions, and then fight back against Trump. And ultimately, as long as we're doing that, if this comes out and it turns out not to hurt anyone, so long as they disclose, awesome. That's what I want. So sounds like we agree on that. We're both on the same side politically. I'm happy with the conclusion that we have reached. This was
I don't think I really have anything more to
I will say
with.
one more thing to you, Kilo, and that is because I didn't write everything down watching your video. There was this kind of, you didn't claim this, but you implied maybe Sam and some of these other people in Pre-V that started it are just in it for the money. I can prove this to you. I've met them, talked to them. There's really cool guys who have a really strong mission and fucking hate Republicans, and I think they really just want to make sure that happens by spreading progressive messages, helping out progressive creators, and I'm all the way for it. Audience, go donate to them. Like they're awesome.
Fine.
I like them.
I think I tried to make a point early in the video just saying like there's something to be said for trying to be resourceful, you know, in the modern political climate with all these new forms of media and ways that people engage with this stuff. That's fine. I didn't mean to throw shade necessarily personally at Sam or whatever the other guy's name is. I think more it almost sounds like a cudgel. So many of the things that I bring up as examples, or I say like maybe this could be happening in the video, or you know, whatever it is, they're more to demonstrate the problem and the questions that people are going to ask when these things are kind of obscured, right? If the thing has been obscured, if there was some type of active, like maybe not contractually obligated, like restrictions from saying that they work for PV or whatever, but maybe there was like a sort of subtle like social agreement in the meetings, like, hey, maybe it's better if we don't talk about this right now or something like that. And then it comes
and that
out
could be
later.
the case.
Well, and I'm not suggesting it was. If that did happen, and then it comes out later that this was happening for months and months and these guys were getting paid and all this kind of stuff, it is going to lead people to question what is the motivation of the people who are funding this group. You know, was it truly like for political purposes, or was there some kind of other thing, especially when you see the response being like it was kind of a aggressive, like really defensive
very
response from
defensive,
most people.
which I understand, but yeah, like it could look worse, especially if the worst accusations were true. Well, let's leave it with 2 points I bet we can agree on. Sure. Audience members should be more vigilant, ask questions, make sure you're holding people that you're watching accountable. If you have this veil of authenticity that might not be true, just double check and say, hey, like, are you being paid to say any of this? And if they lie to you, then they're on record lying. And 2, creators should be aware that even if you're getting paid by someone and it has nothing to do with political content, they just want to help you out, mention it somewhere, maybe put it in the description. And if it's a good sum of money, just get ahead of it and say, hey, just FYI, I talked to these people. And if there are contracts that say you can't do it, then that's an issue. And maybe if you can't afford to, be principled, get kicked out, and then report on it. Because that's what I told Taylor I'd do. I'm like, look, I'm applying to Chorus. If they tell me I can't criticize Israel, you'll know very fast when I don't get into Chorus. But maybe I won't get in, period, just for having a mutual following of her on Twitter. We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be massive conflict of interest there, obviously. So
definitely.
No, I have no notes.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I spent an hour or 2 hours in a panel where I wanted to talk about this. I prepped all day for it. I was thinking about it all day, and then it didn't happen. So you saved the night, and I appreciate your time.
Well, unfortunately, we don't really disagree too much more on like the actual content of the article. But
well, we don't. But I was able to get like it felt like we met in the middle, even though our and because our principles are the same, we were able to come and say, all right, yeah, maybe more disclosures are good, but we can talk about the article in a substantive way. So thank you. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you, man. Guys in the chat, his channel, his video that I don't like, no offense, it was well made, I disagree with all of the points, is in the description. Go check him out. Just last thing, IRI was wrong. You're not a pedophile?
I am not a pedophile.
Okay, good to know.
That I know of. So
well, I'll have to fact check that with him, but it's good to know. All right, cool. Thanks for talking. Bye, buddy.
Cheers.
Well, that was pleasant. What a nice way to end the night. Thanks so much for sticking around, everybody.